Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to Accelerate. My name is David Wakeman. I am the product marketing and evangelist lead for Snowflake here across Asia Pacific and Japan. And it is fantastic to be with you today. I'm sitting here in our beautiful Singapore office here. It was great to be here. Hopefully one of you will be able to, a few of you come and join me one day up here. If you'd like to meet us, it is a great new facility that we have here. We have offices right around Asia now for Snowflake, and it's been an incredible journey watching us grow. So we are at Accelerate. We first tried this last year as our very first dabble into industry sessions, and the response was fantastic. People really appreciated to be able to meet customers, hear talks from the community, and we have a jam-packed agenda. Now, we have got a few little changes in the agenda. Retail, I think last year I said was ever changing, but boy, this year, what a year it's been so far for changes and adaptation. And we've managed to fit in a couple of extra customers as special guests today as well. So it's a full agenda laying ahead of us with some incredible content. We're going to dive into some of the most pressing concerns sitting inside of the industry and how data and AI can address those. And I'm sure you're going to appreciate the content that we've got lined up for you over the next 4 hours. Now, without further ado, we're going to jump straight into this, and I'm really pleased to introduce our first presenter I can see who's up here. Damien Beasley recently joined us as an industry specialist for retail to Snowflake. He has had a long distinguished career holding several senior leadership roles in organisations inside of APJ and brings a wealth of experience to the table. Damien, good morning. It is morning, afternoon, I should say. Good afternoon, Australia time for you. How are you, and welcome to Accelerate. I think you're just on mute there, Damien.
Yeah, of course. You see, you think that years of COVID would teach me to get through the mute button. Right, so let me start it again. Thank you, David, and apologies. I'm actually in our offices, so I thought I was going to eliminate the internet problems, but we're going to truck through. As you say, a phenomenal lineup that we have today. For those who haven't met me, and I've not met all of you, thank you so much for giving up your time to listen in, to be inspired. We hope that this session will be deeply informative, inspiring, and a hugely valuable session. My name is Damien Ballasty, as David said, and I head up our Asia Pacific and Japan market for consumer business and for retail. Today, we're going to hear from three of our customers. So Ashwin and Prasanna from Anko will be presenting their customer showcase, along with Adam Coutier and Dominic O'Halloran from Mecca Brands and Mitre 10. This is really the heart of our showcase to you guys today, is to show how our customers are using the data platform from Snowflake and AI to power their businesses. I'm equally delighted to have two partner showcases as well. So Santanu and Andre from AWS and Predict HQ will also be sharing how personalization can be achieved using a combination of AWS and Snowflake, as well as how demand forecasting and making AI work for demand planning will work with Predict HQ. As David said, it's a jam-packed agenda, and let's kick it off. What I wanted to give you this afternoon or this morning, wherever you are, is a brief update on the state of the union in the market of APJ. I'm delighted to have co-presenting with me Prabhath and Jim. Prabhath leads our retail technology team at Snowflake, and Jim is a senior principal architect and globally our CTO, field CTO for retail and consumer goods. But before I invite my colleagues to present their thoughts, let me spend a few minutes just giving an overview and setting the scene for our topics today. There's one thing that Stephen Covey, the distinguished author, talked about, is if there's one thing that's certain in business, it's that it's uncertainty. What I love about retail is the fast pace and adaptability required to change with the times, but it feels like we're going through a real period of uncertainty. What we're seeing across our customer base is that there are 6 forces converging on today's retail and consumer goods businesses, from flat growth across the market to changing consumer behavior, a drive to be more sustainable and ethical in the way that we show up for our shoppers and our consumers, huge disruption in the supply chain, great volatility in the economic and geopolitical landscape, and of course, artificial intelligence, digital and data and technological innovation. I'm going to focus on three of those, though, and we'll start with consumer confidence. And it is really a mix across the region, from some of the countries in APJ showing great optimism to some less so, deeper pessimism. And that will then show up in a drive to look for better bargains. We're seeing a real step change where people are trading down to drive greater value from the shopping that they're doing. We're also seeing that shoppers are less loyal, and the channels with which they are engaging with our retail and consumer business customers is expanding. I note on this one, so these are research pieces from PwC and McKinsey. What I think on the left-hand side is quite interesting that virtual reality is now growing as a new channel to reach your customers. And customers are not just buying, they're browsing, discovering, engaging, and purchasing directly within these new channels. They're also less loyal. So they're looking for new brands, new places to shop, and different retailers. And in this market in particular, we're seeing the rise of Temu and Shine and the discount e-commerce marketplaces because customers have less discretionary spend. In the supply chain and operational world, we're seeing three big areas of disruption. Global trade and geopolitical changes, from supply chain shortages to inventory shortages, is a real problem. Trade tariffs, a huge topic at the moment, is driving a complete new scenario modeling requirement for our retailers to be able to see who they can trade with and how they can trade profitably as the tariff landscape changes rapidly. From a risk management perspective, natural disaster, raw material shortages, transportation congestion are just a few risks the companies need to prepare for. And businesses need to be much more reactive and adaptive to these changes. And then, of course, the changing landscape of the workforce. Retail is particularly heavy with labor as a cost on the P&L, with labor making up typically about 38% of the cost base of today's retailers. And companies must rethink their talent strategy, balancing automation as well as upskilling to be able to retain the best of their talent. And of course, no conversation with Snowflake would be complete without a conversation around data and AI. And for us, the message is very clear. AI is not just a future ambition, it's a present day necessity. AI is really revolutionizing the way that we are sourcing, selecting suppliers, and supporting negotiation. It shows up in optimizing inventory management, demand forecasting, and replenishment, ensuring that products are where they need to be when they need to be there. Advanced analytics and the use of unstructured data is also a place that we're seeing our customers profit from Snowflake and the AI ecosystem that we have around to be able to cut costs and enhance customer experiences. Data isn't just information, as we all know, it is a source of competitive advantage. And of course, data integration and data connectivity. Retail and consumer business is an ecosystem industry. It's not just about efficiency, it's about being connected and resilient. Our own research talks to the development of generative AI, which is moving from proof of concept to proving value. And across our region, we're seeing material gains from people who are investing early in generative AI. Our research suggests that for every dollar spent, the returns are as high as $1.4. And in retail and consumer goods, there's a natural dominance of consumer experience and operational efficiency gains. 87% of retail and consumer goods companies are reporting that they see positive impact in customer support and service using Gen AI projects, for instance. So my question to all of you is, are you ready for what's next? My colleagues are going to deep dive into the consumer business world of focusing on customer and customer 360. And I'm delighted to hand over to Prabhath, who'll talk to you about retail media networks. Thanks, Prabhath. Over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Damien. That was a great overview of the marketplace. Um, and I am going to share a little bit around retail media specifically. And so, Damien, if you could stop your sharing and then let me take our audience on a little bit of a journey into retail media, which is definitely a topic that elicits a lot of strong reactions around the world. Whether you're excited about it or cynical about it, there's no denying that it is having an impact on the minds and wallets of many of our customers worldwide. So we're going to go a little bit on a journey. We'll tell you a little bit about retail media, but then really what does that journey look like if you are a retailer or if you are an advertiser or specifically a consumer goods brand. And it's no surprise why retail media is starting to increase. Retailers are always looking to carve out more revenue streams. This includes alternative revenue streams like data, but more interestingly, the opportunity to start to bring in some of the marketing revenue and tap into the marketing spending that companies are doing worldwide by monetizing their own first-party data through all of the properties that they own. On the flip side, advertisers, and in this case, we're going to specifically refer to consumer goods brands, are always looking for better ways to reach consumers and drive conversions of whatever it is, selling products or services. And as they do that, it's critical to be able to measure the impact of all of that activity. And so being able to see the outcomes through purchase data makes retailer media very valuable to the brands. And it's no surprise that it's already had an impact, but what an impact it's already had. By 2028, and unfortunately, I can only find real deep data in the US for this. By 2028, in the United States, total retail industry, the operating income is about 380 billion. So the total profit pool, the operating profit for the industry. And by 2028, 34, so almost a third of that profit comes from alternative revenue and retail media sources. And that's up significantly from the years prior. That starts to introduce new competitors in the media world, but also it starts to make it very clear that by just selling products alone is not enough to drive the growth of new consumer experiences and shopping experiences of the future. This will continue to grow as we see retail media continue to drive a very rapid growth rate. On the left side, you see about almost 22% that it's now taking up of all digital ad spending and growing at a very healthy clip. And it has tons of room to grow as the total ad spending worldwide is still a much larger piece of the pie, but growing much slower. If you read between the lines, retail media continues to take a significantly higher share of total ad spending worldwide. And it's becoming a real force for change in the market, but also a lot of opportunities. What does this journey look like? And so we're going to spend the rest of my time here talking about what the journey looks like for a retailer as well as a brand, and what are some of the opportunities that Snowflake is helping brands and retailers drive. For retailers, it all starts with aligning the strategy. There is no more important thing than to make sure that the core retail business, the merchants, the operations, all of that are in line with this new revenue stream and making sure that it works for the company as a whole, but also still drives collaborative efforts with the vendor community. And this is critical to maintain. Many retailers, including the largest in the world that are now successful at retail media like Walmart, have lots of stories and anecdotes to share, obviously, on this. But at the core of it was making sure that there is strong alignment internally and across functions. Next, establishing a strong data foundation is critical. And it's not just the first-party data that is a critical component of all of this, but it's also the sales and transaction information that advertisers are going to need to be able to verify and understand the impact of those campaigns that they run. And then also supply chain and inventory data so that you don't lose stock while you are advertising. All of these things need to work in conjunction with each other in order to make sure that retail media is fully incremental and driving the best possible impact for both the retailer as well as the advertiser. And this is where Snowflake helps quite a bit. Globally, many of the largest identity and enrichment providers have created native apps and marketplace offerings to more securely be able to resolve identities and create that customer 360 directly within a secure perimeter. Next, Snowflake supports all data types, including unstructured and operational data. And this becomes very important in the lens of being able to connect supply chain data with the rest of the data sets in the data estate. We make that easier by providing connectors, either third party or first party, to major software services, including SAP, Google Analytics, and others, which thousands of Snowflake customers are doing today at massive scale. And realizing the dream of inventory-aware retail media that is critically important to both maintaining a great consumer experience, but also driving positive ROI for both the retailer as well as the brand's advertising. So as brands build their retail media platform, start with managed services, continue to execute and automate where they can, they also start to expand their inventory, maybe looking offsite and working with common DSPs and other places to start to use their audience data elsewhere. And this is where there are challenges. Retail media is typically a high profit margin adventure. However, as you start to expand your inventory into offsite and even in store, the margins start to get significantly lower. And this is where retail media starts to create some challenges and where Snowflake can really drive a lot of help. At the end of the day, being able to serve up retail media to an advertiser is still a very competitive activity. Your prices need to be competitive to be able to reach a particular brand's prospects and be able to reach those efficiently. And all of these costs of the infrastructure, the data, identity, managed services, the providers, and the inventory itself start to add up. And where Snowflake really helps is being able to create a broader visibility across all of these data assets, reducing the overhead to integrating these data sets, a better TCO, and a single platform from which you can control not only your retail media, but keep that in line with your operations, as well as all of your other first-party data and customer experiences. And in many cases, retailers are able to consolidate their stacks to support multiple needs by only building one set of capabilities. Finally, aligning goals, driving joint value creation really is the heart of where retail media succeeds in bringing the brands and the retailers together to really drive categories and brands together. And then retailers continue to integrate and build new services for the enterprise. And again, this is where Snowflake has a great role to play. We support many of the advanced analytics that brands are demanding and retailers are able to provide, like incrementality and even more advanced capabilities like market mix modeling natively within Snowflake to offer those as services for advertisers that want more clarity and more granularity in their ability to measure. We offer integrations via native data cleanrooms that allow brands and advertisers to share data both bidirectionally with retailers to have more deeper and more fulfilling engagements to understand the dynamics in that behavior. And lastly, AI and ML plays a major role to make the onboarding and implementation faster, but also the usage of tech marketers and ad operators teams and really drive their productivity much further. So that's the retail journey. Let's flip over and understand what the brand journey is. The brand journey generally is a little bit more straightforward. Obviously, brands also have to have a strategy and organization around it. So whether it's keeping the decisions on retail media isolated to an e-commerce team or being able to embed it across an organization and across their business units. There are pros and cons to both, but having an aligned organization strategy on how investments are made and where decisions are going to be made is critical. Next, defining the goals of retail media, and this is a critical one. Is it revenue growth and ROI? Or is it reach and reaching new prospects and bringing in new brand buyers? Or is it to simply support new brand executions and launches? So having clear goals that are set leads to better outcomes in retail media. And it's very common that brands will chase something called ROAS, the return on ad spend, without really understanding whether it's truly driving volume growth for their businesses or driving penetration of new customers. And so this is very critical. Next, designing creatives and being able to activate in an efficient way across multiple media networks is a challenge, but also a key part of the brand's journey. And this is one of the places where Snowflake does help. Snowflake has a very broad ecosystem for being able to activate retail media campaigns and other campaigns across many different media networks and vehicles through our partnerships with companies like PacView and agencies like Omnicom Media Group. Real-time store-level data is often ingested into Snowflake to provide better, more granular analysis for all of those store-level analyses that can connect to decisions that can be made, maybe geo-targeting and others. And this often comes from first and third-party retail connectors. Data partnerships that we have globally that help you close that iROAS gap and truly understand your incrementality by linking the data from retailers to third-party transactional data, potentially within clean rooms, and really bringing in some great agency partners globally that can help you collaborate better with retailers as well as the rest of your advertising decisions and your mix. Incrementality is a critical piece of the brand story, being able to understand and measure the impact of their decisions and their marketing decisions in retail media, just as they do with many other media forms, is critical. And one of the gaps that we continue to see in the marketplace is the definitions of what incrementality is. There is the return on ad spend. When you do a campaign and spent a certain amount, this is the lift that you saw within that retailer. Well, many retailers can provide additional cuts of incrementality, make sure that they're not duplicated by, say, other promotional activities, and were they actually incremental versus maybe a control set. However, where advertisers continue to look for solutions through Snowflake data clean rooms and others, are being able to understand whether the activities at a particular retailer are either cannibalistic or maybe haloed positively across other retailers. And understanding that requires third-party data and potentially data that's outside the purview of a retailer. And once all of those things are done and start to operationalize, you start to see retail media start to take place and start to have objectives within joint business planning with retailers and their merchants. And lastly, brands are continuing to manage their mix and understand whether retail media is worth investing more and how to fund certain things and which budgets to pull from, whether it's shopper marketing budgets, incremental budgets, or starting to create new ways to look at brand marketing and trade marketing together. And so I'll leave you with kind of a fun slide where one of the things that we are seeing globally is that retail media is delivering TOFU, MOFU, BOFU, and ZOFU, which is top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and the zero moment of truth funnel, which is driving the true brand loyalty. We're seeing different ad formats and other creatives across these as advertisers understand the true power of retail media, not only as a purchase incentivizer, but also a place to build great brands. And it's very clear from talking to CPG leaders that are investing and making decisions on retail media that retail media, along with some other channels, are far and away the most important channels to CPG leaders and their investments now and into the next 5 years. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Jim Warner, who's going to take you through a little bit of the technical aspects of retail media.
Thank you, Prabhath. I'm excited to talk with everyone today about the architectures that people can use to drive retail media. So let me share my screen, and we will hop right in. So you'll have to excuse me as I digress a little bit and talk about another trend that has been, a major trend over the last several years, and we expect to be a major trend going forward, which is the trend in CDPs, or customer data platforms. So this is a market that's been exploding over the last few years. Retailers are adopting them at large scale. And I think what's interesting is when we think about how those CDPs are sort of broken down in terms of the functionality that they provide. Step one is around data capture, understanding what are your customers are doing, in particular on your website, in your mobile apps, what activities they might be doing in store, and really getting all that data into one place. And then you have to do identity resolution. You have to join the different profiles that are coming from these different source systems. You have to stitch all of those together so that if I have one profile for in-store and one profile online, that those get joined together on the common identity of me. And that really forms our customer 360. That really forms that golden record, that single view of the customer that so many marketers strive for. Once we have those profiles, we can use those profiles to form segments, to form audiences, right? And marketers are often going in and creating these custom audiences, people who have, purchased on my site in the past year, but maybe haven't purchased in the last month. Whatever those audiences are, those segments are that are important for marketers, they're able to create those. Once those segments are created, they need to be activated. They need to be moved to some platform, such as an email tool, such as a paid media channel, to deliver the messaging. And then analytics really gives us insights into that entire journey. Okay, now I'm going to go back to retail media, which Prabhat has so eloquently told us about, right? And we know that retail media has been exploding over the last several years. So why don't we do the same thing for retail media? Why don't we break retail media down into its pieces? The first step is data capture. We have to get information about the consumer from our website, from our point of sales. We have to do identity resolution. We have to stitch these profiles together. We have to form that customer 360. Then we still need to create audiences. We still need to create segments. But now those segments are a little different. They're not necessarily what's interesting to our own marketing team. They're what's interesting to advertisers. Things like category purchasers, for example, very commonly bought in retail media. This is particularly important when we talk about that audience extension piece, that part of retail media that Prabhat talked about that is transacted off of your own website, but might be activated on CTV, on the open web, on online video, where we're actually able to target shoppers, but we're able to target them out over the internet. That's that activation piece. Okay, we need to move it to the retail, to the audience extension partners. Could be social, could be CTV, and then measurement that Prabhat talked about, and the importance of incrementality. And I think ad buyers are more focused on the measurement of retail media than ever before. They really want to make sure that that's working. So these are the pieces required to execute a retail media network. And I think something should look familiar here, right? This really looks a lot like the process of a retailer doing their own marketing, but now they're making that same data available to their advertiser partners. Let's get into a little bit of how this looks from an architectural perspective. And don't worry, I'm not going to go into detail on every single box here. But we can really see the flow. On the left-hand side here at the beginning, we have our data gathering step, getting data from the web, the mobile applications, from our point of sale system. We have all the product data, including the catalog that needs to all be gathered into a single place. That data really needs to be transformed and joined together from an identity perspective, forming our single source of truth, our customer 360. We apply the segmentation process on top of that customer data, and we get audiences. And those audiences are made available even through self-serve buying platforms sometimes. And then when we do our audience extension piece, that data needs to be moved to partner ad platforms where we can actually run the campaigns. Then all that data from those partner ad platforms need to come back into this single source of truth. And that's what's really going to power our ad measurement. So again, I think that what's striking here is the similarities to what you might see in a reference architecture for a composable CDP, where you have these stages of data gathering, customer 360 through to segmentation and activation. Okay, so what are the trends that we're seeing that are a result of this architectural similarity between CDPs and retail media networks? Well, the first, quite frankly, is that MarTech tools like CDPs are actually being adopted for retail media networks. So we're seeing these very same tools that have been acting as CDPs for retailers are being adopted to power retail media networks. And then in some cases, retailers are making a single choice instead of making two choices, one for what's going to power their own marketing, and a second different choice for what's going to power their retail media network. They're realizing that these tools are really similar and that often the same tool can do the job. And so they're going through that technology selection process only once. And they are powering their buy side marketing, where they're buying ads, and their sell side marketing, when they're selling them, with exactly the same data and exactly the same software. So this is one buying process. It's one effort to go through and unify this data, and they're getting multiple benefits from going through that process. And then in some cases, we're even seeing team unification, where the team that owns marketing also owns the retail media network and the retail media data foundation as well. So this is the architectural trends that we're seeing across Customer 360 and retail media. All right, I'm going to hand things back over to you, I think, David.
That was super fast. You actually came in a little bit earlier there from me, caught me off guard there. So thank you so much for walking through. I'm just going to go through and check because we do have a moment or two to see if there's any Q&A questions coming through. Let's have a look what we got. So just while I'm looking through, it's a great time. We have 3 absolute all-stars here, so it's a great time to ask. Maybe you might reprise here. Jack asked a question about proprietary MMM models, which you answered. So maybe just want to sort of voice that for everyone else, Jim.
Yeah, so Prabhath had mentioned that media mix modeling is a trend that we're seeing, and this is a trend across the industry. Media mix models are more important than ever, and sort of have had a resurgent as we've seen, the uncertainty around the cookie, as well as because of privacy regulations. Media mix modeling is a technique for measuring the effectiveness of advertising that does not require any person level data or does not require the sharing of person level data. And so the question was, do we at Snowflake have a proprietary native solution for media mix modeling? The answer to that is no. However, we have seen a number of brands that are one, adopting open source media mix modeling features. And those open source packages often do run natively in Snowflake. And we even have some examples of that folks can read and try themselves. The other thing we're seeing is many brands actually have a really strong opinion about how their media mix modeling should be done. And maybe there's something different about their brand that's really important. And so many brands are actually building those things from scratch. And we're seeing a number of brands that have done that on top of Snowflake. What's really powerful about that is that they can run their modeling in the very same platform where the data resides.
Perfect. So I just had a question here from Jeff too. Good morning, good afternoon, Jeff. Great to have you with us. For an organisation that does not sell any media inventory today, how do you recommend to get them started? In particular, as it relates to in-house work versus outsourcing.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this is a great question and a really important one for folks to think about. And I think a lot of retailers might be thinking, hey, maybe I'm not ready to have a retail media network today. There's a lot that goes into it beyond the technology. Do I have, salespeople who can sell ads? Do I have the infrastructure to run ad ops and all of the things that go along with it, right? And so, but I think it is important that retailers realize where the world is going, and that more and more retailers are going to want to have that high margin revenue stream that Prabhav talked about. And so I think if they go through that work of setting the data foundation, then that's going to pay off in many ways. Again, powering their own marketing, making their own marketing better, but also setting themselves up for a future where they may open that data up to partners to advertise. So I think it's never too early to have a really high quality customer 360, a really robust customer 360 where all the data is brought together, breaking down the silos between that data. And I think if you go through that process, you will set yourself up to be able to extend into a retail media network in the future.
Yeah, and look, I think we're talking about a fairly specific topic today, and obviously you work with huge brands, but in our part of the world, I've had a lot of customers speak to me and say, "How do we get started?" We use some commercial tooling, but trying to get more value out of the data and take command of it. And as that question just alluded to, then from Jeff, building internally, there's a lot of, I guess, thirst for knowledge around that. So it is definitely an area where I would encourage you to engage with Snowflake to see, what the opportunities are with your data as well as the industry. But certainly this trend of growth from very small businesses wanting to optimize their intelligence on their customers in many forms is huge. So Jim's been here a lot. I mean, maybe Jim, where do you see, just to wrap up the last question, you've been out here a lot into our part of the world over the time we've been together at Snowflake, in APJ specifically, where do you see our customers on that journey?
Yeah, I think in some ways the customers are a little earlier on that journey, right? Because the markets, especially if you're only one market, like if you're only in Australia, if you're only in New Zealand, then the market's a little bit smaller, and so the upside of selling ads is a little less, right? You make ads by selling a certain amount of money per person, right? And more or less. And so there's sort of just less money to be made in general. But I still think it can be additive to the margin really of any retailer. And I think this journey into the audience extension that Prabhav talked about, the ability to use your data to power ads, not just on your site, but across the internet as well, really sort of lowers the bar for what kind of scale you need to have on your own site to really get started. And lots of folks need help in getting started with building out a customer 360. There's a lot of great partners that Snowflake has that can help with that process. But again, I think set the data foundation, choose a technology, start the process of gathering that data and joining it together, and it'll pay off in a variety of ways.
Yeah, yep, totally agree. A good question from Ravi here. Sorry, I said it's the last one, but I'll be cheeky. I'll sneak one more in. I know you're up for it, Jim. So how does Snowflake differentiate CDP capabilities in comparison with Salesforce, Oracle, and all the other vendors? Where do we fit inside the ecosystem, which is a really good question, right?
Yeah, that is a great question. And at Snowflake, we don't consider ourselves a CDP. Rather, we consider ourselves the data platform, the data foundation on which you can build your CDP. And so we actually partner with folks like Salesforce and Adobe and many other CDPs in the space for a variety of reasons. But I think, one of the things I often see companies go through is that they unify their data for the purposes of their CDP, and then they unify their data again for the purposes of analytics and powering business intelligence and dashboards. And then they consolidate the data again to run their customer experience practice. And then they consolidate their data again for their retail media practice, right? And we just think customers should really go through that process and do a really good job of that once, and then leverage that data across these different use cases. So, many of our customers use software like Salesforce as their CDP, but in order to do that, they're really bringing together the data in Snowflake as step one.
Yeah, really good question. I mean, and as a marketer here at Snowflake, right? I mean, I live this. We have all the tools that we're talking about here, but that data silo problem, bringing everything together and having good data, particularly as we talk about first-person data and where it comes from, and making active use of it. I mean, it's phenomenal what we do internally, and I guess there's a huge value we think to others to, you can have the tooling, but unless the data is solid, then there's not too far to go. So I think that's a really good sort of question just to kind of clarify that. Jim, I'm going to go through and just talk through the agenda because we've got a moment or two left before our next guest. Thank you so much for joining us. It's very late in the evening for both Pravath and also Jim. Both Pravath and Jim are regular visitors to our part of the world. They've done all kinds of various activities and events. So I'm not sure whether we've got a ticket booked for you at the moment, Jim and Pravath, but I'm hopefully you're coming down here soon. Maybe you're going to tell me you've already got one booked. I'm not sure, but we would love to have you back. And I guess from your sessions, obviously we quickly drove over the top today, but the call here out to everyone is there is a lot of knowledge stored inside Snowflake with our domain experts, Damien, of course, included with his view and being based locally in regions. So we'd love to continue this conversation. Hopefully we've piked your interest as to how we could work together and perhaps shed some light and give you some direction. Jim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate it.
Great. So just before we get to our next session, folks, there was a good question about the agenda. And as I said, it's been a bit of an action-packed day, just like the world of retail itself. We actually had a schedule. One customer could not make it, but we've actually got 2 additional customers who have willingly come on board and they're going to share their community experience with you. And I'll be introducing Anko in a moment. But just before I do, I want to sort of wind back the clock a little bit and maybe just share exactly kind of what the actual series is that we're presenting today, and also just give you everyone a little bit more of a feel for what's available. As I mentioned, we had started running the Accelerate series about 12 months ago. I think we ran 4 industries. We have actually expanded it out this year so that there is 8 separate industries that we're covering over 2 weeks. So we're on to number 2 here. You are more than welcome to join us for any of those industries. You may not, wish to dive into the world, but maybe you're interested to find out what the travel and hospitality industry is doing, or maybe you're interested in another area. So they're running through this week, also going through into next week as well, where we're going to look at healthcare, life sciences. We'll look at transport and logistics. We'll cover media and advertising and entertainment, which is also probably an overlap with some of the retail segment. And we'll also have public sector. So lots going on here. There was a question too about enablement. These sessions today, we're about to drop into our community sessions, and I can see both Ashwin and Prashana have joined us in a moment. We're going to cover through community sharing. So what we've got for the rest of the day for you is actually going to hear from 3 different customers, 2 partners, talking about their experiences with data AI and Snowflake. Of course, we have to have some Snowflake in there. And hopefully you can use the opportunity just to learn from them. We do have folks that ready to answer questions as well, but we'll do some sharing inside of that. If you wanted to do something more hands-on, if perhaps you're a more hands-on practitioner, I want to call out this one. We actually have a great way to get started with Snowflake, and perhaps if you're new to Snowflake, about half our audience is. Take one of our guided tours. We run hands-on labs regularly. They're conducted by our specialist SEs, system engineers here in the region. They're a great way just to get fingers on keyboards, ask some of the questions about Snowflake, and just get a feel for how it works. So if you're looking for more technical content for hands-on, join those. We'll also get a trial account during that process as you sign up. So, you'll actually have an account you can work with and keep after it. If you would like to do a self-guided learning journey, go to the Snowflake website, go and find under resources, look for the Snowflake University. There is a ton of content. There's free badges, there's introductions to certifications such as the Snow Pro Associate, all the way up to our industry-leading certification with the Snow Pro Core exam. So there's lots of content inside of there. And all of this, of course, is on top of our community, our developer relations, YouTube channels. There is a ton of content out there to help you take that learning journey. We run a lot of content here in Asia Pacific and Japan. I do another series called Discover, Discovering Snowflake, which is also a massive series that we do, another one in July. So lots of ways to actually improve your competency with Snowflake. So I'm ready now to move over to the community sessions, and I'm absolutely thrilled that I can welcome Anko back to a Snowflake event. Now, actually, we had a session with Anko about maybe 8 months ago for our virtual session we had for World Tour, I think it was. Was great to have the guys on then. Anko, I think, really encaptures almost our sessions today. They're based, the guys are based in India, but Anko supports brands such as Kmart in Australia, so they truly span all of Asia Pacific and Japan. They certainly live in the world of retail, and they have been heavily into using Snowflake to innovate inside of the world of data. Ashwin, Prasanna, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you both?
Thank you for having us, David. We are doing good. Hope you are doing well as well.
Yeah, really well. And thank you for supporting us too. We wanted to pack some extra customers in today and hear their stories. So really appreciate you answering the call at short notice and coming back to speak with us again. So I can see you and hear you both clearly. Maybe if you just want to share a slide, your slides up, and I'll just confirm I can see them, and then we can dive straight in.
Sure.
Perfect, thank you. Take it away.
Cool. Thanks, David. Hey, everyone. We'll quickly start with a brief introduction about me and Prasanna, who would be your speakers for today from representing Anko. So this is Ashwin. I am currently working as a principal data engineer in Anko. Over to you, Prasanna, for a brief introduction.
Hi, everyone. This is Prasanna, working as a data architect in Anko.
So diving now into agenda, so we'll start with a quick introduction about Anko for all the audience, well as we would like to highlight the journey so far with Snowflake. It's been close to 4+ years. We as a company adopted to Snowflake, and we just wanted to take a brief moment to kind of recall the journey so far. And one of the use case which we are planning to present today is to do with the vector capability within Snowflake, which was probably announced last year, and we have adopted that and have seen a benefit in terms of time and other aspects in terms of computation. Then in the last few minutes, we'd like to talk about what's next from Anko in terms of Snowflake. Now, more about the company, as David clearly called out, we as an Anko is a GCC based out of Bangalore in India. We support two iconic brands of Australia, that is Kmart and Target, under Wesfarmers Group. Now, the scale at which we operate, to give a gist, so we have close to 450 stores within both Australia as well as New Zealand region, and we have close to 60,000 team members working for our brands. Now, in terms of revenue, we are clocking around 12 billion for the last financial year. And our parent company, which is Wesfarmers, is a 45 billion company in AUD overall. Our mission within Anko as well as Kmart Group is simple: to provide families with everyday products at the lowest price. And our vision is to make everyday life better. Now, moving on to our journey so far with Snowflake, it's been more than five years. Initially, we adopted to some of the AWS components, including Athena as well as QuickSight. And there were a few issues in terms of the time to market, cost, as well as the performance related issue as we started growing in. Then we choose Snowflake as in a typical retail world where we have source systems like our POS systems, or even to do with some of the clickstream related information, or any customer or customer facing as well as the first party applications is pretty much tapped to Snowflake. That means we receive data from both real time as well as batch process through ingestions. And for the data lake, data warehousing purpose, we are leveraging Snowflake as of today, and Power BI is our reporting capability. Apart from that, we also leverage AWS Airflow as our scheduler, which Prasanna will talk about in the ups and downs using that as well in one of his use case. Now, the journey so far to illustrate that, now, if we look at the scale which we operate, we have close to 180+ warehouses supporting various needs, including ETL, ML, as well as reporting, along with the ad hoc analytics, which most of the businesses does. We have close to 20+ real-time app integration from our POS as well as IoT devices. Now, at present, we are storing close to 200 TB of data, and it is growing. That means in any retail world, the organization is moving towards data-driven decisions. In terms of ML, again, we are matured enough to host more than 20 plus ML models within Snowflake. And the scale at which we operate, some of the stats clearly represents, for example, we in a usual day, we have close to 1 million worth of queries, being fired at Snowflake. And that might be from the 2000 plus dashboards or even to do with our engineering pipelines and ad hoc analytic users. So far from the impact standpoint, we have more than 10x impact leveraging Snowflake. Now, with these capabilities, I would like to pass it on to Prasanna to give a brief about the vector capabilities which we adopted recently, following with the benefits. Over to you, Prasanna.
Thank you, Ashwin. Thanks for giving the insights regarding our organization. And today I'll just going to explain the vector capabilities, what is the challenge which we have faced, and how we overcome after implementing the vector capabilities. Coming to the business problem, okay, where we need to analyze the products and their description, title, price when compared to other market intelligence people. So we are just comparing our images, like the product attributes, all those things. The current challenges when we comes to the current organizations, like usually what will happen, the image processing, where we want to do the comparison between the image, where it's a pixel to pixel image, which is taking more time. It's compute extensive, where that's the biggest challenge which we are facing right now. And if you see other challenges, the embedding extractions, where it's a time consuming and the computations is very huge, because we are comparing millions and billions of images with our other competitors. So that's another major challenge. And when we want to do the similarity calculations, that is another major challenges which we faced when we are not using the vector capabilities with the traditional methods, whatever we are using. So to overcome that, okay, I should just go to the next slide. So we thought, okay, we thought using the Snowflake vector capabilities along with that, and even we are just evaluated other capabilities, and because of the key features, we are just chosen the Snowflake vector data type, because of the scalability, the performances, where we can able to integrate with the other database, because we are using a Snowflake extensively, and security wise, because our data is already there in the Snowflake, okay, no need to go with the other vendors. So that's the main purpose where we choose the Snowflake vector capabilities, and we implemented the solutions. Can you go to the next one? So we've done a lot of the solution implementations, like how we are implemented, where we converted the current storage by using a vector data type, and everything was embedded and converted into vector data type properly. And the image comparisons was calculated using a Snowflake capabilities, like the cosine, all those things. And we converted the proper embedding and captured and stored in the Snowflake database, which is based on that, the computations was totally changed when compared to other methods, whatever we used. So based on these solutions, okay, many things got opened up, not only the image comparisons, even where we can able to open up with a new use cases like semantic search, recommendations, and vision applications. All those things were coming into the picture because of the new capabilities. Can you just go to the next one? So I'm just comparing the results after using the vector capabilities. If you see, because as I mentioned, okay, we are just comparing these very high level metrics which we have captured, but we have billions of images which we are comparing with our and other competitors. I just took some samples, and the significance I can able to give you like few image data processing, which is taking almost 125K, just an approximate volume I'm just giving. Okay, initially it was taking 17 minutes without using the vector capabilities. After using a vector capabilities, it was reduced to 3 minutes. The similar way, okay, 16.2 millions, okay, which was took 18 minutes to compare, and it was reduced to 1 minute. So overall, for this particular whatever the POC which we had done, and we are already moved to our productions. The earlier it was taking 4 minutes, 4 days and 19 hours, and now it was taking 2 days and 21 hours. It was almost reduced 40% of our execution time, and even the comparison was, even the similarity score was almost 95%. So this is just a sample metrics which I given. Based on that, okay, many use cases we have opened and we are closely working with improvising the other projects where also we are building we are implementing the similar things in title descriptions, even the price, color, and all those things. So this is a one use case which we implemented, and it's given very good results, and we are also in production now. And Ashwin, over to you next.
Sure. Just to add, so the comparison is mainly done between leveraging Airflow. Airflow is hosted on top of Kubernetes services within AWS. So initially, the pain point was, we running the image processing, text processing, or converting vectors using Kubernetes computation, versus we pushing computation to Snowflake, which resulted in better benefit in terms of cost as well as the time. Now, moving on to the last aspect, what's next at Kmart and Anko? So there are three different use cases which we are focused for next few months. One is Iceberg. We would really like to leverage, and there are POCs ongoing to leverage Iceberg to try and test out ACID transaction because S3 is one of our landing zone, and we are evaluating Iceberg to see if we could convert the landing zone into full-fledged tables based on case to case. Apart from that, the other option is, or other feature is the open catalog, which goes hand in hand with Iceberg, basically a RESTful protocol which allows managed services for Apache Iceberg tables. Last but not the least, the Snowflake PAT, the programmatic access token, as we all know, by end of November 2025, the service accounts with password logging will be retired. That means we have option for key pair authentication or the programmatic access tokens. So which is a new feature in fact, which we are trying out, and we see a great benefit for the short-lived tokens as well, where an organization can customize their PAT functionality to as per their organizational needs. Apart from these three, we also have tons of GenAI use cases which we are testing out, but probably in upcoming sessions, we could touch base more once it materialized. With that, I think that's pretty much from our end. Over to you, David.
David, we cannot able to hear you.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon, I'm talking to myself. Forgot to push my button for the mic. Thank you so much for the session. They can hear me again. We've got time for one or two questions for those who might want to quickly ask them. I think we can sneak one in. You spoke then around transaction times, about the radical speed up in transaction times. And just for everyone who's listening, I mean, the organisations that you serve are massive organisations with huge data sets. Can you give us a sense just of the size of what you're dealing with, like why this is such an important thing, just these grassroots bringing data together and improving availability and speed? What sort of scope do you look at from data size?
Sure, David. So is this question related to the vector or in terms of the Iceberg capability which we are...
with vector. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we talk about scale, the Kmart group, we list more than 40,000 different products within our homegrown brands. That means each product which we list will have title, image, and each product might have multiple images to cover 360-degree view of a product as well. Along with that, the description and other other attributes of a product, which is humongous. That means we have millions of images and text to compare and find the similarity pattern as well. So that's the volume we are talking about. When we compare, when we give you an information about the volume, it also says, let's say the billions of images will contribute close to more than few hundred GBs of data itself, leaving text and other attributes aside. So that's the volume which we are dealing with right now, as of today.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the kind of the key values of the platform too, is just to be able to handle that kind of scale, and we hear that regularly from customers all the time. A little bit more on Iceberg. You mentioned interop. what was it, a little bit more specifically, what are you hoping to achieve with Iceberg?
Sure, David. So Iceberg, like as I mentioned, is irrespective of batch or real time. So at least for 80 to 90% of our pipelines, the landing zone is pretty much on AWS S3. So leveraging Iceberg in some of the cases might definitely benefit in terms of cost or even the features as well. So that's where we are exploring Iceberg capability within our platform.
Yeah, lots of excitement. I was working with a customer about 2 weeks ago here, based in Singapore, and a lot of excitement about landing on that as an opportunity to bridge over to many different kinds of systems and hopefully do it in a fairly open format, so they don't have to worry about being locked into one path or another. So I'll look forward to see how the experiments work going forward. I'm sure you'll be successful. Prashana and Ashwin, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us a quick insight into the work that you've been doing. We really do love the passion, and when you get to spend more time with the Anko team, like they're super passionate about the way they serve all of these businesses they host and the impact it has as they can provide, you know, data in a more rich format. There's lots of other use cases that they provided beyond what they do today. So we really do appreciate the incredible work that you have been doing, and also for joining us today on Accelerate. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure is ours, David. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Great. There was a question before too, just for those who are looking for content. If you look at the resources tab on Zoom, you can click on that tab. We've got some useful links just to websites, but there's also, it's a little bit hidden, there's also a documents download. If you go in there, you can actually download a series of materials. There's 2 or 3 documents I've put together for today. These are available on the website as well, but if you grab them from the Zoom session, you won't have to go and retype in your email again, which is great. So for those listening, please do feel free to grab those. So our next guest who's coming along is actually a company. Actually, it's really interesting. I had to go and look at my kind of backlog of files. I first spoke to Adam, I think it was back in 2003. It was for a virtual world tour that we were delivering. Adam actually described himself and what the team were doing as really sort of applying some New Zealand can-do know-how into actually both doing great things for the business. They were experimenting at the time, I recall, with, I think it was using Streamlit and talking to your data and LLMs, which, you know, is, of course, everyone's talking about the topic, but this is going back in 2003. And there was a lot of enthusiasm from Adam about what the team was doing just to bring better data access to the team. Adam, I'm thrilled that you could join us again. Can you believe it was 2003 when we spoke, and you managed to sort of answer the call fairly short minute to fill in today for us. So I really appreciate you being able to jump on again at short notice. And also I'm kind of fascinated to find out, what have you been doing in the last sort of year and a half, or nearly 2 years since we last spoke?
Yeah, thanks for having me today. Yeah, it's great to share our journey. I think the first time we talked about it was kind of Snowflake Data for Breakfast, so kind of our first 90 days on the platform.
Yep.
So that was a huge journey for us, and being able to kind of move at that pace on Snowflake and using Coalesce as well. So it's a fantastic journey. I've got a few slides to kind of give you a quick update as to where we are, and just jump in with questions as we go through.
Yeah, we can. Perfect. And Adam, you might want to just, before we put the slides up, on the video button, just go into video settings and maybe turn off the virtual background, because it's interfering with you a little bit. It thinks you've got a green screen.
Looks like I'm in a witness protection program.
Yeah, it thinks you've got a green screen and it's incorrectly rendered you. So maybe you can just quickly turn it off to a blank background, and then when you're ready, share your slides. Yeah, well, you've done a lot, I remember, in the first presentation we did, because you were already experimenting. You were doing the initial sort of ingestion, and you'd already started to experiment with Streamlit and others and talking to data. So you'd done a lot in the first 90 days. It was pretty impressive how quickly you jumped forward, that was for sure.
Yeah, it's we are very fortunate. So we have only 6 people within our team for all of data and insights. But one of my learned colleagues is doing his PhD in AI. So of a small team, we're fortunate to have that motivation, engaging with universities and further studies to start to branch out to go, can we be a leader rather than a follower across what's happening in AI, and particularly generative AI in retail.
Perfect. So if you were to share your slides, I'll just confirm that I can see them and then we can dive straight in.
Sure thing, one sec.
Perfect. I can see them on screen. Adam, take it away.
Wicked, thank you. So I guess a quick intro to myself. I focus on people pace, business led. So I'm a recent addition to the digital and strategy team at Mitre 10. Prior to that, I used to work in finance, and prior to that in merchandise and another retailer. So kind of had a range of roles, and absolutely believe in automation and AI just around productivity. 3 random facts. I've jumped out of a helicopter. I used to work at the second largest gold depository in the world, and I'm the first person in my family to graduate university. All of my rest of the family are tradespeople, which obviously comes in handy in my role at Mitre 10. So kind of a bit of background around trading environment in little old New Zealand. Very tough trading environment, particularly in construction at the moment. As a business, a lot of focus on reducing costs and increasing productivity. And we're also trying to make significant investments in technology and also building projects as are many retailers. There's lots of changes globally and nationally. So change in politics, change in approach to international trade creates huge amounts of uncertainty for us. So as part of our history, we previously had no accountability for data. We used to have a broad spend on contractors, platforms, and across departments. It was slow, it was hard, it was duplicated. As a member cooperative, we have 65 different legal entities. Each of those had its own data warehouse. So it was a very challenging environment for us all to live in. And it was disjointed from a customer and a team member experience. So there's nothing worse than a customer going, well, where is X? Equally, a team member having to dive into 5 systems to ask what they needed to. So this is just a bit of history, I guess, for others on the call. David's quite familiar of our journey so far. So we dreamt of a common data platform, and our guiding principles for this were to start small and scale fast. So it had to be easy to use, brilliant at the basics, speed and quality of the decisions, safe data sharing, industry data models, long-term partnership, local delivery expertise, and growth for the future. So obviously we went in a market scan and ultimately chose Snowflake as that piece in our puzzle. So we operate on AWS that provides us connectivity, shares, storage, and within the Snowflake ecosystem, we leverage Streamlit. Previously, we were using Hex, but actually now we've gone into native Snowflake, and we use Coalesce around our pipelines. And at Mitre 10, we have one kitchen, multiple dining rooms, so we have multiple presentation layers, but we do predominantly support Power BI as part of that. So in terms of the 30, 90, 180-day plan, so we focused on 30 days of foundations, so getting the platforms running up, getting our data synchronized using AWS. We had a key use case, which is around our trade account managers, so like a sales tracking dashboard. Azure or Entra ID integration, having pipelines running, having code management, and also access to Snowsight. So that all went quite well. So then we extended that into machine learning, sharing with our external partners, having a full stack, so Dev QA Prod. We leveraged Snowflake Marketplace to get external data, and we also integrated data from SAP, so our core ERP system. So by 90 days, we're able to get 10 times the data coverage than we'd had in our previous warehouse that had existed for 20 years. Sounds quite crazy when you say it in hindsight. And then 180 days, we were focused on what is the full launch across our business, leveraging Snowpark, using natural language and AI to enable our users in a better way across SQL, advanced analytics, and then using APIs where we needed to around data cleansing, data modifications. So I guess part of the story is about how we got here. So for us, that was around platforms and people to give us pace, and it's the flywheel of pace. So as you kind of have better platforms and better people, you're able to continue to drive that pace higher and higher. So one of the things we did, we were very fortunate when we started that generative AI was a big thing. So what we did is use a unified approach to our data. We actually used, at that time, ChatGPT to create a lot of our data models. This is a slight Mickey take from one of my team, but nobody knows AI data like AI. So the rationale for that is we knew at that point that we needed to create a data model that was easy to be understood by AI. So it still had human supervision, but what we were trying to do is create a world-leading model that would be able to use AI on top of that. We're quite simple people, so we have two schemas, one called Mitre 10, one called Mitre 10 Report. So what we did as well is built the business logic into the data pipelines because we have that concept of one kitchen and multi-dining rooms that we're able to switch between BI platforms. Similarly, for AI, we used a common pattern where we would share context of the data, so things like DDLs, not the content. So we would use kind of an integration layer that was built in using external functions and APIs to provide that pattern. And also it meant using the functions within Snowflake, we could switch AI providers and test multiple models against exactly the same scenario without changing deep code for us. So we were able to adopt new AI models the same day that they were released using a common pattern approach. In terms of for us, the pace we talked about, so by embedding business logic and having that transparency in the data, we were able to get rid of 6 different solutions across our business in 6 months to consolidate our business reporting, our business rules, and our data store and science across our modern infrastructure. So for us, we've outlined here in terms of our growth of data objects that were able to be created per quarter. So over this time, we went from kind of figuring it out to a stable delivery, which we thought was quite good. And then, like I say, a turbocharged piece where we're getting well more than 5 times pipeline productivity. So that's new data objects flowing through and extending across our business. So the importance of that is we can use more data, we can get better outcomes, better understanding of our customers and the market that we operate in. So in terms of how we did it, we like to say it takes a village. So we were sharing our experience, our challenges and our problems, but also learning every day. So we've got world-class training from Snowflake here in New Zealand. I have a great practice, and also they connected us with others who were doing similar things. We would share our knowledge freely across New Zealand or Aotearoa. And we would also get inside help across Coalesce and Snowflake because we were always focused on how do we build smarter and faster, how do we leverage AI, how do we make a data part of that core conversation so we could get those outcomes. For us and for me, it's around a business-led data transformation. So for us, it was tidy up the back of house, so set our foundations, establish user communities, make sure that people understand what we're doing and they have the skills to be able to do it. And then we went into the data quality, the connections, and then enabling those insights, scaling and learning. Even now, we still meet with every business team every month around what they need, but we also engage with them on Teams and Slack and Jira to get those kind of things flowing through. So a lot of the time, if there's a business request for a specific report or query or outcome, we can often turn that around in the same day because we've got a strong, robust set of data models and tools. People are able to do that themselves using our AI-enabled tools in Snowflake around query generation, or we're able to do that for them as well. So one of the things we struggled with to start with was around making sure that we have the right things and we focus on the right things. So what we would always do is use a matrix similar to this. So the things that are going to be used, so a broad audience and drive action. So it might be increasing sales, it might be increasing customer breadth. And we were able to deliver very quickly. We would consider in the now phase. So that meant, those would get prioritization. We would also consider ones that were slower and harder for our data teams, but would be heavily used as the slow burns. Ones like niche, we would review on a case-by-case. For example, if it was a financial reconciliation, we would still be doing that, even though it's only used by a few people, based on its criticality to the business. But if it was something that was incredibly hard to do and very low use, we would have the conversation with our team members to go, hey, actually, we think we need to park this. So sometimes the secret to pace is saying no, not always yes. So for us, it was the engaged communities connecting around the data, but also often as data nerds, we forget it's actually connecting with the teams. So understanding what the teams want to be doing, what's their future look like, how can we help them deliver on that roadmap to then enable those insights. And as they find more insights, we engage broader into our data communities and across our business, and then that drives more connection. So like I say, it's that fun little flywheel as we go. We have a saying in a business about making lemonade. So often you're handed a bucket of lemons or a set of problems to solve, but actually we've turned it around to go, actually, how can we make lemonade across that? So what I'll do is probably share about 5 examples. Just in Snowflake, we were able to do that for us. So we automate the mundane. So we have store shares, which basically keep data confidential and very fast to access. So what we did is we created a Streamlit app to create this process. That one means we have no errors, but also the process went from 2 hours to 5 minutes. And the guys in the team were able to show that off, show a great example of how that works, but also it becomes a fun task rather than the mundane task that it was prior to that nobody wanted to touch. We leverage the new AI functionality as it comes into the core platform of Snowflake, and we've also been leveraging external APIs. So we used things like Document AI to understand our A/B reconciliations and drive out improvements to our business. As a retailer, we process tens of thousands of documents a month. Many of those are paper-based PDFs that end up causing lots of problems. So through this, we're able to improve that throughput across our business. So we went from about a 20% rate of auto acceptance to just under 70%. We've got a long way to go, but we're literally in this space. We're based on paper. We use notebooks within Snowflake around live data learning. So we'll create tutorials for our team members, so both inside our team, but also outside, understanding how, for example, this one is looking at relative dates. So running queries, they can see the results interactively as they're going through to really teach them what is the technique and how do they use the schema here. So you can see we're pretty clever. So we have a table called date rolling, and we have a table called sales transaction. And we build those out to make them as simple as possible, both for our team members, but also AI as we leverage those. So for us, leveraging kind of the lineage and pipeline process in Snowflake and Coalesce, we're able to drop 30% of our existing costs in the most recent kind of 6 months. So that's been a huge win for us. But you can also see how a ERP system like SAP and using external data sources can be quite complicated. But what you can see here is actually we've done a pretty good job to go. There's a SAP company code, there's a NZBN, which is the New Zealand business number or international location number. The registered details of that entity comes through into an object called company, and then that flows through across our business. So this is where we're trying to aim for, is to go, how do we leverage new technology? Like this is an example of dynamic tables within Snowflake, but also leveraging a lineage and also that smart data model design. So it's a cool example of using technology for a purpose rather than kind of trying to make up a problem to use dynamic tables. So for us, that meant reduction in credits. So that gives us kind of headroom for future growth and particularly leveraging AI. But also at the same time, we're able to significantly drop query time. So we had hugely better performance across our distributed network. So we're able to drop query time by 60%. So some of this was around user training, but most of this was around the platform and the structures and the data models that we created to make sure that we have a better performance for our team members. So in terms of now, we used to be contractor-led. We have a lean group of in-house experts. So we've got 6 people in our data and insights practice who support the 8,000 team members at Mitre 10 New Zealand. We used to be really inconsistent, but now we're seen as leaders in innovation and delivery. We used to have glimmers of hope, as we said, but we literally got feedback the other day, which is amazing, in terms of one of the merchandising reports that we're able to deliver and the depth. So we create 2D models of our stores. We create location-based analytics, and we're able to help our merchandise teams understand their product performance based on effectively the locations within the stores, as well as the uplifts from different activities we run. So for us, yeah, saving cost, better performance. This is the following 6 months. Common data understanding across our business. So we have 120 business users using Snowflake, and then over 500 across Power BI. We have 140 people join our Insights Champions group. So that kind of gives some tips, tricks, and new reports and how to use core product tools like Snowflake, as well as Power BI, depending on their roles and their use. So we've had over 100 production deployments in 2024, as well as 1,200 data objects created. So that's based on us with 2 data engineers. So we've got 2 full-time data engineers and no contractors. So you think in terms of the scale of that is phenomenal. But we also have the ability to kind of deliver AI use cases into production, both on our web channels as well as our internal productivity tools. So the future for us is focused around being data superheroes. So automating the future. For us, the key part of that is having playful people who can build the data frameworks and the questions that need to be asked, who are driving the business value to have playful people that are enjoying those insights. As this continues, we believe the key parts to that are having a feedback loop, making sure you have the right governance and security, having intelligent data models, and also a broad source of data. In the future, we'd expect that those intelligent insights and integration themselves will be driven through AI or leveraging AI. We're in that interesting part to see how that happens, but also heavily reliant on the powerful platforms that we use today. So it's a quick run through in terms of our story over the last couple of years that we've been on Snowflake. Here was my particularly poor image of trying to create a data monkey like everyone else on LinkedIn. But my email address is literally data.monkey@mitre10.co.nz. So if anyone wants to shout out feel free to chuck me an email or jump on LinkedIn.
Adam, that is awesome. And you've also got a self-declared meme of yourself at the end. That's just too good. Too good. Fantastic. Well, you and the team have certainly come like leaps and bounds since we spoke before, from playing with Streamlit to sort of, I just saw that little caption, many AI use cases in production. I did have one question, please. Keep them coming, folks, while we've got Adam here. Jack asked a question. You kind of touched on it at the end there, but he said, what was the team size? What role types were required for Mitre 10 to achieve all of this? And then how much of your work is done externally in the setup phase?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point. So the initial phase, we had one enterprise data architect who was at Mitre 10. We had one contractor who was more around kind of the platform setup and security governance controls around in and outbound flows. And we had a third person who was also a contractor around coalescing the pipelines. So there was a team of 3 that created over 100 pipelines through that first 180-day phase. And then we transitioned to a permanent team of 2 data engineers, 1 data architect, and as a strange quirk of numbers, we have 2.4 BI developers. So we are fortunate. We have a guy in our team who works in stores Monday to Wednesday, and he develops reports for us on a Thursday and a Friday.
Wow.
So it just kind of shows how retail comes into everything when we do. So when we say we're, integrated with the business and integrated in the outcomes, we're really not kidding.
Yeah. So it's sort of 6-ish odd. I guess 7 with yourself. That's certainly a lean team for what you've achieved to go through. And at this point, I guess the other question was are you still using outsourced help, or is it all completely internal?
So we're completely internal. So we have no external support for Snowflake, Coalesce, Power BI. All of those products are exclusively in-house. So for us, that's really important. But we also, so on occasion, we have, we particularly get things like marketing will drive, say, they want to have a customer segmentation or something using external data or external consultants. We will create a Snowflake share for those use cases, and they will build that within Snowflake. The advantage for us is those are rerunnable, but also we never lose the IP. So we do, on occasion, have contractors for the complex pieces there. So it's definitely not, we will never have contractors, but it's always having the right mix in the business.
Got it. So and folks too, they'll probably fit one more question. So if you've got a quick question, now's the time, otherwise you'll miss out. One question I was going to ask, and it was more on the people part. You came up with the slide at the end where you sort of went from inconsistent delivery to consistent, and from okay results to amazing. What was required in that? Because your primary business is serving customers, and it's hardware for those who don't know Mitre 10, but it's a hardware brand. So it's a big leap when you're going into that business and saying we need a big focus on data to achieve it. It's not the core competency I'd imagine for retailers to talk to. How did you move people through that so that they're on that journey with you and the investments you're making in data? I mean, obviously now they can see the results and they're saying, wow, amazing. But what kind of work did it take to really convince the business to come on this journey with you and make these investments, and we're going to do it internally and use our own IP?
I guess for us, it's just building on performance or success. So the first thing we did in the 30 days, which was probably my main focus, is we created a mobile-based sales app for our stores that allowed them to look at their customer portfolios, so their trade customers, so builders, plumbers, those kind of people that come in, and basically what's the sales gap. So what could they do around service, products that they should purchase, or looking at the price, and also it included their 360 feedback. So where they've provided feedback in the past saying something's really really poor, our trade team could pick up an app and go, we should do something about that. So real basics of retail, but what it meant is people could have it in their pocket. They could go out to a building site, have an informed conversation with a customer and go, hey. So I think it's always important to have the golden use cases where you can go, hey, this is going to be number one, and back the team that, they can deliver the 90% version out of the gate. We often, spend months or years trying to deliver the 99% version. But I kind of believe that pace then, drive that performance to get the extra pieces out. So for us, that was the main foundation that we relied on. And that built trust in the system, the data, but also the credibility of the team and the business outcomes. So rather than going, hey, here's this data cloud, people go, what's a data cloud?
I hear that one. So you zoomed in, found a simple use case that you could build kind of a quick proof of concept, put in the hands of people just to sort of encapsulate the idea of what could be done, rather than trying to sell them the entire mission in the first bite. And then I guess, seeing is believing, right? So look at this, look how much it's had a small impact. I guess it gives you a platform to then stand on and say, well, if we really got serious about this, we could have a massive impact to our customers. That's really good learning.
Yeah, and I guess the other piece is we were, as we showed in the presentation, self-funding. So we decommissioned more systems than we commissioned. And the cost of those we were able to significantly reduce as well. So there's not many programs that you can kind of say that where you can bank a lower OPEX and any CapEx you spent is basically, covered by that reduced OPEX in the same financial year. So a huge kind of credit to the team we have and the capabilities we have and we built. But yeah, also 6 people's it's quite lean. So that's where we look and going, if we're going to go to the next AI generation, do we need to have, slightly more people in that space as well? So hopefully next year's budget holds another person or 2.
Yep. Well, it certainly looks like you've got, to use the more colloquial, you've got the runs in the board. So hopefully you get the support. But I think it's just a really good strategy, whether it needs, less investment or most commonly more investment. But the approach to go after that, because it is a big, when you're going, as I said before, and talking to a board who are thinking about customers, thinking about, in this case, retail outlets, bricks and mortar, where to build stores, to win hearts and minds with that dialogue is not easy. It's one we have a conversation before, so it's really good learning overall for sure. I got a few congratulations, Peter. Thank you for that, Peter. This is great presentation. There was another one I missed before, who mentioned, gave you a bit of feedback, said really enjoyed it. Adam, thank you so much. I certainly enjoyed the presentation as well. Really appreciate you stepping in to give us the update. Always interesting. I will be fascinated to go from experiments to AI in production. I'll be fascinated to see maybe in another 18 months to see where you are then.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, David, and we'll catch you soon.
We certainly will. Thank you so much, Adam. Really appreciate it. So that was a really interesting presentation. Hopefully you enjoyed that. It's actually funny, I've been with Snowflake for about 3.5 years, so to actually meet some folks from the community who've just started with Snowflake and then to have them come back on and talk about where they are in the journey has been really, really interesting as we move through. So that was a fascinating session for me as well. We're going to have another journey presentation, although I hadn't met Dominic until recently. Dominic O'Halloran is joining us from the Mecca Group based in Australia. Now, this is a brand for those who have maybe teenage children or, other partners, don't have to be teenagers, but certainly I have the experience. I remember when my children were in the teenage years, they suddenly discovered this magical new brand that I had to go and take them to called Mecca Cosmetica, which is one of the parts of the Mecca Group. And I learned very quickly that I needed to allow a certain amount of my internal budget at home to that brand. And it's a brand that's built a loyal following. They've been through exponential growth. I think there's some numbers that Dominic will share around, I think 110% growth in their physical presence. And they've also been building an incredible data culture to back all of that. Dominic, welcome along to Accelerate. Thank you so much for joining us today. And it's great to have you here.
Right. Thank you, David. I'm really happy to be here.
Good stuff. So I'll just stop sharing this screen for a moment. So something a little bit different. We're rather than doing a bunch of slides, I think you've got one or two, but we're going to actually just sort of go through and do a little bit more of a guided conversation today. But maybe just to start off here, maybe just give us a little bit of a brief on yourself. I mean, you've actually worked at another long-time Snowflake customer before here, and you've worked through some fairly major brands in the Australia region. So maybe you could introduce perhaps yourself and a little bit on Meka as well would be fantastic.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Dom. I'm the head of data analytics for Meka, and I've been there for about 3 years now. So for those of you who are not familiar, Meka is kind of like the Sephora of Australia. So we are Australia's premier beauty destination.
Now, I wasn't going to say the S word, but you did. Yeah.
Well, for those in Singapore and elsewhere who might not know.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about Meka, because when we were sort of doing the warm-up for this, perhaps give us a little bit about, before we get to when you stepped into Meka, but just as a business, I mean, those who don't know, I mean, what's the scale of growth? I mean, businesses are either in, we've got lots of customers, consolidate, how do we do more with them, or in a growth phase? And from what I hear, Meka has been in the growth phase.
Yeah, absolutely. So Meka has first opened its doors 27 years ago. It's an Australian success story. So its founders, Joe Horgan and Pete Wendenhall, are still with the business and part of the business today. And we've gone from 1 store on Toorak Road in Melbourne in 1997 to 110 stores today. Wow. Across Australia and New Zealand. I think we went from ranging 7 brands in our first store, and we have over 200 brands now, most of which are exclusive to Meka. And we also have an incredible loyalty program, Beauty Loop, which we have almost 3 million customers that shop with us regularly.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. I mean, my children have now grown up through teenage into adult and sort of have brought the brand along with them, and I've seen the brand sort of morph and merge into products. Maybe give us a bit more on the growth strategy. I mean, it's
sure.
Online, physical, wherever, what sort of keeps you busy, engaged at the moment?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I mean, just to give you some numbers and things. So Meka as a company has grown about 10-fold in the last 8 years. We are heavily investing in our store presence, and we are going to be opening this year one of the largest beauty destination in the world. So for those of you who know the old David Jones building on Burke Street, we're taking that over. It's going to be the latest Meka store. So our company is very firmly rooted in bricks and mortar and the customer experience. And then we also have a very significant online presence as well. And in terms of kind of like market share and things, we hold market share for makeup in Australia and New Zealand.
I didn't know, as ex-Melburnian living in Singapore, I didn't know you were taking on the David Jones building. I do know that well. That's super exciting.
Yeah.
So lots of growth, bricks and mortar, inventory, logistics, customer intelligence. Sounds like lots to do. Maybe how did you become involved in Meka? Because you stepped into what I understand is a project about to go into full flight.
That's right. So yeah, when I started at Meka, and I sort of instantiated the first data and analytics team here. So, Meka in the past had a data platform and had reporting and, some of those things, but that was for a company. They've just shared the growth numbers of, much, much smaller than we are today. So, for us as a data and analytics team to be able to deliver the insights, the analytics, and then the advanced analytics, and we haven't even spoken about AI yet. We need the platform and we need the capability that's going to enable us to do that. So one of my first kind of objectives as coming in to build the data strategy was, well, one, understand the business and where do we want to get to, and Meka is incredibly ambitious. So part of that was putting together a data strategy that was going to match the ambition of the company, and be able to really deliver the capability that is going to continue to help us improve our customer experience, deliver great rewards and incentives to our Beauty Loop members, make our supply chains more efficient, and all of those kind of things.
So maybe before we get into the details of the solution, I mean, what were the kinds of kind of pain point areas that were really stood out? Because I guess we'll reflect into like, did what impact did you have? But you've walked in the door, and I can say you've come from another huge, well-known, retail brand, Australia's largest one. You've walked in the door. What were the kind of things on fire, so to speak, where you really realised that you needed to make this move?
Yeah, so prior to joining Mecca, I was at Wesfarmers, so that was a completely different organization. But coming into Mecca, it's obviously much smaller, but also incredibly ambitious, and this was a real challenge that I could really get my arms around. And so the things that we were really facing are kind of your classic data and analytics challenges, right? We had multiple sources of truth for our reporting, so no one report was the same as the other, causing incredible confusion. We had a data platform that couldn't scale, so if you think about the growth that we've had, that means we have vast amounts more data that we have to process and manage and provision to our users and business users and things. So we had a scale challenge, we had a cost challenge because the solution that we had was incredibly expensive to keep running the way that we were running it. And then we just had a capability gap because we were frequently being asked to deliver predictive modeling and machine learning and look into, be able to move just beyond reporting and more straightforward analytics into the world of machine learning and predictive analytics that I was very much part of at Wesfarmers. So, we needed to be able to have a platform that gave us the capability to do that as well.
Right. So you're into that sort of journey now. I mean, the platform selection. I mean, we kind of touched on this. The platform selection had already happened when you came to Mecca, as I understand.
No. So that was something that we had to work out.
So
as
well. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. So when I came into Mecca, what I had to do was really understand what is the current state of things, what are those challenges, where is the ambition of the business, and how much support am I going to be able to get for a data program, and then we went about planning out what that was going to look like, and we had to really then understand what's the capability that we want to be able to stand up at the end of this project. So in terms of where we are now, we've probably been on this journey for about almost 2 years now, coming towards the tail end of it at the end of this year. And what we've been doing is moving all of our data and all of our critical reporting and critical data assets across to our new data platform, and then really laying the foundation so that we can, once that is finished, we can then move on to really delivering the advanced analytics, moving the business forward and getting much more value out of the data that we have just spent so much time integrating and migrating over to the new platform.
Yeah. So maybe before we get into sort of new platform and benefits, I know you had an architecture slide, and just for the audience, if you're out there, it's often helpful because we're right across all of APJ. You're trying to conceptualize the size of the business, complexity. I'm not sure if you're putting up here. That's awesome. Thank you, Dom.
Yeah, sure.
Just to sort of give everyone a feel for kind of what you look like now and kind of your target platform.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a platform that we have named Lumos. So we got the whole business behind this to come up with a name for our new data platform. Our old data platform was called Glinda. So we're moving from Glinda, who was the witch, the good witch of the West from Wizard of Oz, to Lumos, who is the spell out of Harry Potter, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a bit of fun.
I love it. I was hoping you were going to say that. I feel like you're shining the light in the dark. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So just to walk you through what you're seeing on screen here, right? Like, so moving from the left to the right, we've got all your kind of classic source systems that any business might have. We've got databases for our internal applications like our ERP and our warehouse management system, and our POS. We've got software like Salesforce, Workday, all those kind of things like that. We've got APIs that we pull data from, and we've got files, and then we've got our enterprise integration with MuleSoft. And so we're pulling all of that data into Snowflake, and we're using a variety of different tools to be able to do that. And then one of the things that we're doing, which is a significant lift from where we were in our legacy platform, is that we're really thinking about the data architecture that we want to build, and we're really thinking about how do we design our data model and really think about how do all of the different tables and concepts and all of that thing need to fit together so that we can deliver a really scalable and efficient platform and be able to answer all the questions that the business has. So you'll see that like we've got a number of different layers that data moves through before we make it available in tools like Tableau and Excel and other places like that. We're also really thinking about how our data governance and how do we make sure we're cataloging our data, we know what data we have, we're enriching the metadata, you know, the data about our data. We're thinking about security and privacy and classification and things like that, so that we're really covered from a risk perspective there. And I think the other big uplift as well is we're now making this a real platform. So it's not just where the data is, it's actually a platform that all the analysts across the business can develop and work on. And we've got an area called our data lab, where if you're an analyst that's in supply chain, you get access to your own compute in your own warehouse, and you can write tables and you can do everything that you want to be able to do, so that you're not bottlenecked by the centralized data and analytics team. We want to stay out of your way, so that you can get on with doing the things that you need to be able to do.
Got it. So you've moved for a little bit from a kind of central, I go to my ops person, ask them a question, they build into a bit more decentralised. And just for those listening too, I mean, we'll try and fit a couple of questions in. So if you've got a question, please drop them into the Q&A. Just talking about, I mean, mentioned in the build up for this one, you mentioned there were 50 reports to be rebuilt into the platform. There's a lot of work on analytics. Could you what are some of the areas specifically where the implementation of Snowflake has benefited the business? So I hear reporting, what else is there?
Yeah, so just to elaborate a little bit more on that, I mean, we're coming from in our legacy platform, we've got over 2,000 reports. No one knows what is the important report or things like that. So we needed to kind of go down from, you know, thousands of reports down to our like 50 or 100 critical reports that we're going to move across. So the immediate benefits that we're seeing from Snowflake is, firstly, the cost of running Snowflake is significantly cheaper than our legacy platform for the same, to be able to do more in terms of volume of data and more processing. The other benefits that we're seeing are just the speed. We can, you know, our batch jobs and our overnight reporting, it runs on time. So, you know, we're getting reporting out for stores and for our business users every morning at 4 a.m. You know, it was a flip of a coin whether you would get your reporting at all on our legacy platform, right? So just some really fundamental basics we're actually able to achieve. And then some of the other interesting things that we've got going on the side here is that we're starting to really think about, well, we're centralized all this data in Snowflake. How do we get that out and start to get more value out of that outside of just reporting? So we're working with some of our other teams, like personalization, to get this data out into their channels so that they can run the campaigns that they want to run. They can become more personalized, deliver better customer experiences. So I think one core thing, right, is now that we actually have a platform that we can generate value from, where in the past, you know, I don't think we really quite had that.
It's interesting listening to you talk. It sort of bridged. We opened up the session. I'm not sure if you saw us open this morning with Prabhat and Jim, but we opened up really deep into, you know, customer platforms and about how to go through and enable digital marketing, greater customer intelligence. And the question was sort of from the audience is like, wow, this is pretty deep. Where do I start? And your story and the guest before mine at 10 is very much the start, right? Bringing data together and then leaning into the opportunity to say, hey, now we know more about our customers. We can take this first person data and perhaps go and enrich other platforms that marketing might hold. So I think this is like a really key value. Like this is where the start of all this comes from, to do those much higher level things.
Yeah, and we've really taken the approach that like we want to get our fundamentals and our foundational things correct and in order, you know, before we then move into trying to do fancier things, right? Like for us to go from where we were to try and do AI or try and do machine learning, we would just be setting ourselves up for failure because we don't have the underlying core data and platform ready to be able to enable that at scale.
Yeah, we'll sort of talk maybe on futures and where to, but I do have one question. You mentioned actually that you're a founder-led company still, and I actually had a similar question for Mitre 10 before. You're a founder-led company, so they've driven this thing from a first shop you mentioned back in the 90s, and now you're selling them transformation of data platforms, huge value to a group who are obviously very focused on their customer experience, making customers look and feel great, as compared to building data platforms, right, which is not their core competency. How do you go and sell to them to make these kind of investments and these transformation and the value of not just, a maintenance effort to make things run faster, but actually really sell the value to someone who they don't wake up in the morning like we do and think about data?
And I think that's really about, you're right, like this would not have gotten off the ground if it was just about moving from one platform to the other. So it was really about showing where is the value that we can get from data and how is that going to help move the whole company forward. I think the other, in our founders, we have Joe, who is the creative brain of creative heart of the company, and then we have Pete, who is like the brain, and she's the front facing side, and Pete is the back. So I think he really understands the fundamentals of the technology investments and things that we need to make. And this is the data transformation that we're making here is one of a few different transformations that's going through the business or has been. We've recently put in a new website. We've put in a new warehouse management system. So because of the growth that we've been through, we're going through a process of right-sizing all of our enterprise assets and making sure that they are fit for where the company wants to go. And I think that's probably the other aspect, David, is that Meka is incredibly ambitious. We set ourselves what we call our BHAGs, which are our big, hairy and audacious goals. One of them for Meka was to achieve market share of beauty across, or become Australia and New Zealand's premier beauty destination, and they were able to achieve that. And they've now set their sights even higher, right? So they can see how, why we need a first-class data capability to be able to help propel the whole business forward and help them to achieve, their next BHAG, which is kind of to take on the world.
Yep, that's a pretty audacious goal. That's for sure. A good question. I was going to do some questions at the end, but this is sort of in line with talking. So Jack, thanks again for the questions. So Jack's really interested in prioritizing reporting in a transition to Snowflake. Do you start with what you don't have, or do you shift the existing reports? Which is a really good question.
Yeah.
I've got this report that in Excel that I've had forever, don't break it. Or do you just kind of go, you keep that and I'll go and build something better? And how do you go and tackle that?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of really comes back to what's your migration strategy. So for us, we, at the end, we wanted to be decommissioning our old platform. So we needed to start with the reports that we already had and move those across and then bring users with us. So, but what we had to do to get to that point was, I mentioned we have thousands of reports, right? We didn't know what was valuable and what wasn't. So we needed to first refine that list down and do a bunch of consolidation so that, we're actually going to end up with more like 50 core reports that the business will run on. And that's kind of like the philosophy or the process that we're taking. I think if we were a different business and maybe we just needed to start doing, say, customer analytics, we might have kept our legacy one and had Snowflake off to the side, but we've decided to make it kind of front and center of our data strategy.
Yeah, it's such a key one. There's lots of different opinions on how to go and make that change, and probably the problem gets different depending on your size and scale, whether you're dealing with 50 reports or 500 reports or 5,000 reports. But that process is big. So just to shift gears a little bit, maybe let's talk about maybe kind of the future. I mean, or two things. I mean, the first question would be, there's a lot of people who are joining us today who are looking to shift platforms or do something, looking for help in making a move on their data platform, given the migration you've made, what's an area that you would encourage people to think of? And I ask this question, if you could go back and do it again, what's an area that you always undervalue and think, you know what, I should always think more about that. It always ends up being more work. So any sort of lessons learned or tips for those who are sitting here thinking about how they're going to execute their own strategy?
Yeah, I think the key one for Mecca, which we did for the first time as part of this project, was really focus on our data modeling. And the reason that we did this was that, the IP that sits behind our data platform is not in Snowflake. It's actually, or any of the other tools that we're using. It's all of the business logic that we need to be able to make sense of the data that we had. So we wanted to really, really focus on what are the tables that we need, what are the structures that they need to be in, how do we make sure that we can reuse data assets that we already have so that we've got a scalable solution. Because what we don't want is every new thing that the business is going to want in the future to require starting from scratch again. We want you to be able to answer 90% of your questions from the smallest amount of data as possible. So we put a very large amount of effort into doing that, and we're seeing that it pays dividends, because as we progress through our migration, a lot of what we're delivering now is leveraging data assets that we'd already developed, and the fact that we'd made them reusable and not just done point solutions for things, I think really set us up for success.
Just on that one, I'm just interested personally. Obviously, your work ultimately has an effect on the business, and the common question is, what's the business impact? But I'd love to ask it this way, which is there something that's really impacted the customer experience at Mecca that you kind of see other business users and think, my team did that? Yes. Is there that little moment? Like what's the one you really think you could tangibly go, this has been a really positive impact for our customers?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest successes that we've had is that we've been able to put data and insights into the hands of our brand partners and give them insights that they've never been able to have before. And that's so key, because it helps them helps our merchandisers and our brand managers understand how the customers behave, and then it helps them come up with what's the strategy that we're going to have for for our brands to succeed. So that's like one really core example. And then I think there's some other examples where being able to deliver insights like we've got an initiative called Cross Shop, where we want to increase the number of customers that shop across different categories. That's a core thing that we've been able to enable with Snowflake that we weren't able to do before, because we didn't have the platform that would allow us to do that type of analysis.
That's cool. That is super cool. I mean, it's great. It's one thing about, for all of us who operate in retail, right? You get to see these benefits directly to your customers. So maybe just finally, I mean, you mentioned then about cross shop. You touched on the predictive just then. What's your thinking? I mean, this is definitely a future thing, but where would you like to dive into next, or where are you thinking of experimenting to?
Well, I think the thing that I'm most excited about is that, given that we have just poured our heart and soul into this project for the last few years, is to then reap the benefits of that for other things. So I'm really excited about the possibility of, particularly for our customer data, we've just gone to the effort of consolidating it, bringing it together and enriching it. And now we will be able to put that customer data in the hands of our personalization team, in the hands of our marketing team, in the hands of people that think about the customer experience, and really enable them to do so much more and bring more customer experiences to life. So, if we're thinking about, things like a customer data platform, like we now have the foundations of that in Snowflake, and we can move forward from there. The other thing that we're not quite as far along the way with, but I think is personally really exciting to me, is how do we start to enable things like text to SQL and text agents that can analyst agents that can answer questions for the business, right? So if you think about, I don't know, whether it's an executive that wants to say, what was my top product in Victoria last week, they can just ask that thing into a chatbot, and that will go away and bring the answers back. And that kind of thing is only possible now because we've actually got the data behind it, but we've also got the metadata and the data model that we can feed into AI as a prompt to then help generate the SQL that can answer those kinds of questions. So I'm really excited for when we can start to do more of that.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, it's such an enabler, right? I mean, as a business owner, I don't want to learn SQL. I tend to fire things off to, that's why I have an ops person. Can you give me this? But actually now I want to know about with next month and that. I mean, if we could remove a lot of that sort of fairly wearisome task, which is not high IP work for someone in ops, I'd rather be working on much more detailed analytics than just that and dashboarding. So I think it's a great enabler. So I guess the opportunity, we heard Mitre 10 come back after 18 months. Maybe we might impose new period, and you can see how that journey has gone. I'm sure, no doubt, that you will absolutely crack it. You've started on focusing on the base first, which is incredible. So I think there's no doubt you'll have real results there. Dom, thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully everyone listening has found it informative as well. I have, if you're in a similar industry or sector inside of retail, hopefully you found that informative. But look, it's been a really great story. It's really fun when you get to meet people like you who are with brands that have such a personal connection to your family as well. And we've had 2 great brands with Mitre 10 and now the Mecca Group. So it's really good fun just to see how things get happen behind the scenes and be a part of that. And yeah, as I said, thank you for joining us today. Also someone from, my old hometown, which is also equally fun. And next time I'm at home, I'll make sure that I get down to the old DJ's building and have a look when the store opens.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much, David. It was a real pleasure.
Awesome. Dominic, thank you so much. So that brings us to the end of our session with Mecca. Now, we have still got 2 more presentations to come. We've moved through a lot. We really packed in. I said this morning that we would jam in an extra couple of sessions today. So the advantage of doing this live means that we can do that, which is just wonderful. So we'll be looking forward to our next presenter joining us at the moment. Okay, I can see you joining. Santanu, you're there. Great, thank you. I had to quickly check that you're on board and ready to go. So we have been talking a lot from a customer lens, so going through and looking at different customers who are built on top of the platform. Now, if you look at Dominic's slide, you'll see a very key theme that many of our customers, of course, need to have the infrastructure to run this, and we're thrilled to have our largest partner with us today in AWS, who are so key to the success of our customers, and of course Snowflake itself, providing so many key services to build on. I'm also thrilled that Santanu is with us today, who is a specialist in retail CPG as well, and is actually going to talk through a little bit around where Amazon provides services here, a little bit about the partnership and where they fit together with Snowflake. As always, we will try and get a few questions in at the end. So if you hit into an area of conversation that is interesting, please do touch on it. We've got Santanu is a very technical resource, so he's got a deep understanding and knowledge to share today. And where are we? It's afternoon in Singapore time, so good afternoon and welcome to Snowflake Accelerate.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you for inviting me and having us in this event.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you. We've actually got another customer/partner after you in Predict HQ, so a couple of really good detailed presentations. So I'm not going to take any more of your time, Santanu. So if you want to just share your slides, and I'll just make sure that everyone can see them and we can dive straight in.
Yeah, so I just have shared my slide. Can you just see that?
I can see they're perfect. With that, over to you.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session. So as David already said, I'm Shantanu, based out of Singapore, and I'm the APJ Partner Technology Leader for Retail and CPG for AWS, and I work very closely with Snowflake team and with our customers. So today, what we'll talk about is how you can delight your customers with data with AWS and Snowflake. So when I would assume it's the first session from AWS in this particular series. So this is a slide that we cover most of the times that talks about AWS and how different we are when it comes to cloud. And as you see here, we are actually the we can only say that we are born from retail and built for retailers. And this is because all of you know how AWS was formed, and it was actually from Amazon.com. And if you see here, it talks about the 25 plus years of experience in innovation in retail that we have as part of this. And you see a lot of services here and a lot of features here as you in the slide. We'll of course not go through each and every one in detail, but right from the beginning, if you see, when it comes to AI, when it comes to innovation in retail, 25 years starting from back in 2020 that we are bringing in different innovations when it comes to retail. With this strong experience in retail, here what we are talking about is some of the challenges that we see both the customers and retailers are facing today in today's retail scenario. Now, here, the challenges that you see, many of you would be able to relate to yourself, because when it comes to retail, it's very unique because all of us are customer in retail as well, right? We do shopping every day. And some of the problems we also face. One problem that we face, be it in online or in store, is a product discovery. We just don't want to, many times we don't know how to find the product that we're looking for, or even we don't know what we want to buy, right? So we go to buy item A, we end up buying item A, B, C, 3 items, and come back home happily after doing the shopping, be it online or store. So this product discovery information, what I want to buy and how do I find the right information in the website or in a store, is a key challenge that customers face most of the time. And in today's era, where information plays a big role, we see a lot of information overload. You see thousands of reviews about a product, you see thousands of comments people are talking about in different forums. There are positive, negative, somebody is saying good, somebody is not saying good, and you get confused. And this actually leads you to a point, we call it as a decision paralysis, because you cannot decide. You cannot decide whether you want to buy now, whether you buy it from here, or you keep on searching for a better deal or a cheaper price, a better item, and so on. So that is what, because you have a lot of information and you cannot digest it. And from a retailer's perspective, they face a huge challenge in terms of how you can provide an unified shopping experience to your customers, because your customers not only come to your store today, they check your website, they check your mobile app, they check you in social media, and then they come to your store also. So there are different point of touch that you have with your customer. And then the challenge that you face is how you can provide a unified experience so that customer feel they have a single view of your brand all across different touch points that they connect with you. And from an operational perspective, of course, there is a big challenge in how to optimize the operational cost, because it's a very competitive industry. You all know the operating profit margin is a big challenge. So the amount of cost that you can reduce in any ways leveraging technology directly adds to your top line. And finally, one important thing that matters a lot, be it in store, again, and online, is how you can increase a larger cart size. How can you ensure if a customer comes to your store, considering, as I said, buying only one item, but ends up buying 3 items in a happy mind, happy face, so that you have a larger cart size, you have a larger conversion rate, and you keep your customers happy at the same time. Now, when we look at these challenges and see how we can address these challenges, of course, one thing that comes in our mind is technology. And when it comes in technology, generative AI and AI is a key thing that plays a big role. And that is where we have this slide. Now, we have taken research that was done by IDC. And if you see this is specifically for APAC region, excluding Japan, as you can see here. IDC says that by 2027, it predicts 50% of APAC retailers will use GenAI for innovating in the areas of product content, boosting the conversions, cutting the cost, many of the challenges as you have seen in the previous slide. And they aim to cut the cost by 30%. And how they can do that? In the right-hand side, you see they have also given a list of use cases which can be applied in different parts of retail and CPG. And also it talks about a preferred timeline by which customers are going to handle this, look up into these use cases. We'll of course not go through each and every use case here, but some of the use cases we will see as we come in subsequent slides. Now, what we have also done, we have also seen that when it comes to GenAI, and when we know that GenAI is such important factor, then what is the most important areas that the customer should focus on when it comes to innovation with AI and GenAI? And that's an outcome of a research that was done by HBR, Harvard Business Review. And if you see here, this was a questionnaire which was shared with data leaders who are leveraging generative AI and AI in their organizations. What do they think about their experience? And 89% of the respondents said that their executives had key stake and sponsorship in the key decision makings. 83% of them said that GenAI is one of their top strategic priority. But if you look at number 3, 52% of them said that their data foundation and data readiness level was in less than equals 5 in a scale of 10. Now, if you see that one of the comments in the left-hand side is very clearly talk about if you fail in GenAI or AI-led innovation, is because your fundamentals are not right. Now, what is that fundamentals? Now, this fundamental is actually data, because your AI runs on data and you need to have a robust data foundation, stable data foundation to take true advantage of AI innovation. Because if your data changes, if your data is not fresh, if you do not have a connectivity with your data, if you do not get a holistic view of your data, you are not going to take the right decision at the right time, and you're going to lead a lot of rework. And when it comes to phase of AI, rework is going to cost you a lot. So definitely you are putting more money on that. And that is where, as I said, when it comes to data, it's not just data, one-time data. Right, so you need to ensure that you have a seamless flow of data, seamless flow of fresh data, which is being governed and which is coming from different sources, be it structured, unstructured, what matters to you, right? It could be your emails, it could be your Slack channel, it could be your documents, it could be your scanned documents, it could be your digital files, it could be your CRM system, ERP system, so on. There has to be a seamless inflow or ingestion of data, and you should have a clear governance model that is exist in the data to provide a responsible outcome. And then you should be able to process the data in the right way to get the benefits that you want to get out of this data. Now, this freshness and this data pipeline is very, very important when it comes to data. Now, this is where Snowflake and AWS come together. Now, when you use Snowflake and AWS together, you not only can take advantage to build the foundation, you also can build the seamless flow of data that will keep on giving you to innovate faster in the AI space. And when it comes to our partnership with Snowflake, you see we have a long way to go, right? And 80% of the Snowflake customers are deployed in AWS. More than 20 plus AWS regions is where Snowflake is available. And if you see from a industry or competency standpoint, there is a huge number of competency that Snowflake has from AWS side. It's not only about competency, partnership, and all, right? So when it comes to giving benefits to you, it required that how our services are actually integrated. Now, as you can see here, more than 30 AWS services are integrated with can be integrated with Snowflake, and it's not only from data ingestion or application container or data lake security, it's also from a data science and machine learning and generative AI perspective. It's also related to specific AI services like, for example, forecasting, comprehend, etc., which are managed AI services, can be very, very beneficial for the retail customers as it comes. So this actually what it means to you, right? So you have seen in a previous slide, there was a data pipeline, which was more of a generic data pipeline that we talked about. Now, when it comes AWS and Snowflake together, you actually can build this data pipeline using AWS services and Snowflake in reality, and this is how it might look. It's a reference that is given here where you have different data sources. You can connect with different data sources. You can have a data ingestion technique with that. Then you can store the data, you can govern the data, you can transform the data, and finally, you can produce the data for consumption by your AI, ML, and other services. Particularly when it comes to GenAI, there are two critical important service that we must talk about: Amazon Bedrock and Amazon Q. Because Amazon Bedrock allows you to choose a whole lot of foundation models from different organizations. We give you the choice to use different foundation models, and you not can only use the foundation models, because to use the foundation models effectively, you need to have access to data. And as I said, and that's where you can access Snowflake data and pass it to Bedrock and use different foundation models to do a lot of activities that you want to do. When it comes to application, you can actually use Amazon Q to provide real-time insights, and Amazon Q you can use from different aspects. We will see in one of our example when we will talk a little bit about forecasting, that how can you use Amazon Q in QuickSight to build some BI for forecasting that you do for your existing data. Now there are few patterns before we go to the use cases that you can run when you use this pipeline and these services with Snowflake. So what are the different patterns that you can execute with that, right? So you can run LLMs in Bedrock with Snowflake data. You can build and fine tune your own model. If you want to build your model, you can build your model. You have access to a whole lot of data. And then you can also fine tune the model if you want to customize it. And then you can develop your generative AI apps. For example, if you want to create a new chatbot or new conversational assistant, you can do that. And you can enhance your system's LLM's assistant by RAG methodology. So there are different patterns that you can run. Now, in each of these patterns, one important factor that I was keep on saying is data from different sources. Now, how you ensure that you have a retail platform with Snowflake to leverage and run these use cases. And that's where Snowflake AI Data Cloud Platform for retail comes in place. If you look at the left-hand side, you have access to a wider set of data, and then you can bring it into the collaboration model, and then you can right-hand side, you can use it for the use cases. So what this retail platform does is it helps you to distribute your relevant information and applying multiple approaches on the unified data platform. You can collaborate by seamlessly sharing data efficiently across different sites, and then getting insights from them. You can enrich, accelerate your data, and you can, of course, monetize it by providing the outcomes as you see in the right-hand side. Now, what are a few of the retail specific use cases that you can run when you use this platform and other AWS services? Here we have some of the glance of it. You can look at it from different segments of retail, be it marketing, merchandising, supply chain, or forecasting side. You can run different use cases. You will be having these slides. There are many other use cases you can run as well, but this is where you can leverage AI to do some of the stuff with Snowflake and AWS. So what we will do is we will now deep dive to a few of the use cases to see use case in action, because we probably have seen a lot of use cases in presentation, but you'd be interested to see how it works in real life, right? So let's talk about Store Insight. So what we have seen is that 90% of the retailer, they have a CCTV camera set off in their stores, but very few of them really use it to bring up insights out of it. And that is where you can you can use Snowflake and AWS together to convert this CCTV video footages into insights. And we have a detailed reference architecture available, and this is where you see how you actually convert images into data at the right hand side, right, into a formation data. You do not capture any sensitive information about any single customer, but what you capture are probably the age group, the gender, which area of the store they travel most, and then how you can use these insights to improve the sales in your store. Here are some of the use cases that actually you can run. You can execute with this. Say, for example, you can find out a heat map. What is the which areas in the stores are mostly visited? What is the path to purchase? When a customer who is having a very large cart size, which path the customer has followed? What are the different footfalls that you have in your store? For example, you see you have a store near a particular college, and you see that you have a crowd between 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Because that's a break time in the college, and you see a lot of students are coming and probably buying items like sandwiches or soft drinks and so on, right? So if you know this information, if you have this information, you can take a lot of decisions. If you want to give a promotion on those items, you can give the promotion in this time, because this time is when this set of crowd comes to your store. Probably that after 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. is a time most of the senior citizens visit your store, because it's time that they think the store would be empty, good for them to do. And if you know this information, you can use this information to provide promotions, to provide benefits to them, and you can communicate with them, right? So this is how you can leverage this information to get insights and then convert these insights into real business value to get more revenue. Another area where you can leverage this is demand forecasting. And that is where we have a service called SageMaker Canvas, which also can be very easily integrated with Snowflake. And SageMaker Canvas has a no-code, low-code feature to do inventory level forecasting. Say, it can tell you that for a particular item, for a particular store, what is the expected sales that's going to happen, say, coming 4 weeks. And all you need to provide, of course, is your historical sales data, which can come from your Snowflake source. You also can provide some of the other factors, like, for example, if you are expecting vacation period coming up, you are expecting some special event which is happening in your in your city and so on. You can provide this information to do real-time forecasting for store. Now we will move into some of the other use cases which are related to customer experience, because if you see here, you see one feature which we called as a virtual try-on, because this is very, very important when people visit your store or online, because they want to see that how this furniture will fit into their drawing room, or how a particular cloth will fit when you actually try it. Now, what you can do, if you go it in a store, you can just take a photo of the item, you can take a photo of yourself, and you can say try it on, and then it will show you how this particular item will fit on you. You can also take a photo of your drawing room, and you can take a photo of the furniture, and you say that try it in this drawing room, and it will show that how the furniture will fit into your drawing room, right? Now, if you see this, we have recently introduced a diffusion to choose model, and this actually helps you to do this type of innovation even without having a very huge size 3D images, because generally it used to take a lot of 3D images and data earlier, but you can do it with 2D images also. And all this will require a lot of interaction with your internal system, because it will require your product information, it will require your product details, and that's where the retail platform can play a big role that you have seen before. So we will see here one more thing, right? Which is like we call it as a similar line, right? If you see here, you can see here how different items you can try, and then you can try it on yourself. So this model, you are trying it a particular shoe, and then you can it can also provide you recommendations. For example, I buy a jacket, then I get recommendation that, hey, if you buy this jacket, you actually probably would be interested to buy these jeans because it will fit well with the jacket. And if you buy these jeans and jacket, then probably you'll be interested to buy this shoe because whole together it looks amazing for you, right? As I said, I went there to buy a jacket, by end up buying a jacket, a jeans and shoe together. All it does ensures a larger cart size for you, and in the end, a happy customer, because the customer is getting recommendations, is getting a final set of purchase things. Here, what you see, this is the last use case I wanted to show you, is a multimodal search. Because what we have seen today, particularly the young generation customers, they don't prefer typing text for searching items, and it is directly related to product discovery challenge that I have said before, if you remember. Now, if you see here, what you can do is, I am having a party with one of my friend, and I like the jacket that my friend is wearing, and then I take a photo of the jacket, and I just go to your site and say, hey, suggest me a few jackets which is like this, because I love it. Then what it does is that it shows me all similar items of like that, and then I can use one of them and buy it. Probably what I do here is that I want to make it hybrid. So the first example, as you see here, is an image-based search. But what I want to do along with image, I want to also type some text. For example, this jacket is from brand A, but I am a loyal customer for brand B, but I like the jacket style and color. I say that, hey, take this jacket, but please provide me recommendations for jackets from brand B, which is of similar of style, right? So then what we'll do, it will make the image and text in a hybrid mode and give me recommendations to buy in. Now, if you see these use cases, all these use cases requires two things, right? One is access to a lot of your data, because it interacts with your product information, customer purchase history, customer preferences, so on. So that requires access to a lot of data, and with modern AI infrastructure as well as AI model, right? That's where SageMaker, Bedrock plays a good role. And that is where we have, along with Snowflake, several reference architectures, contents that you can leverage to build such solutions when you think of it. And there are many more use cases like that, as you have said, right? So what are some of the things that we can do from now on? So you have seen the data platform that you can leverage, the build with AWS and Snowflake, and then some of the use cases, why you build it, and how you can use the Snowflake AWS together to build the use case that you need. Now, as a next step, I think what is important for you is to select the use case, that what are the areas where you want to focus on, and then probably together with Snowflake, we can help you to train, to help discovering the right use case, and for you to start a POC along with us, right? And then if you do that together with Snowflake and AWS, it is very easy to get started, because you have seen we have done a lot of things together. We have many collaterals in place. You can leverage some of the architectures, you can leverage some of the guidance, and it of course provide a connected, trusted AI environment for you, which is very, very important, because in today's world, responsible AI plays a big role, and that is where we come together to ensure that your data is connected and trusted, and of course it simplifies the cost in several ways. So I think with that, I will conclude here, and thank you so much for your time. I have a last slide here. Please, I suggest you to please provide your feedback, and also feel free to connect with me, and if you have any further questions. Thank you so much.
That's great. And thank you so much for walking us through a fairly comprehensive demo too. The demo was cool. I loved it. So hopefully everyone else did as well. It got your mind thinking. I mean, we talked about, we had some customers who are doing some foundational data work and as well as AI and others. But I think you definitely took it up a next level. I mean, considering the largest mega cloud provider as well as retailer, it's a great combination of both. Yeah, one question was from Peter. He said, information overload. That was a lot in there, Peter. So maybe just for those, we've got a couple of minutes. If you've got a question specifically, I did say that Shantanu was deeply technical, so you obviously got that. Peter got that as well. If you've got a question, please pop them in the chat. We'll try and pick up one or two. I appreciate too the offer to actually engage with customers. Maybe just a question, not so much technical, but you were actually on the road traveling when we spoke in preparation for this. Where do you see customers? I mean, we live in Southeast Asia on this journey from really being able to get towards, more advanced AI techniques. I mean, maybe not as advanced as where you were doing overlays there for generative, but where do you see customers in that journey? Are folks still struggling with the initial data load? Are they really starting to explore deeper use cases for AI? I'd be interested in your perspective.
Yeah, I think there are a mix, David, if you really look at, right? So one is, of course, in Southeast Asia, as we look at, there are two types of customers we have. One are conventional retailers who was there for the long time, and others are the digital native, the new ones, right? Probably for the new ones, it is more like how they can use innovation faster because they started with a new tech stack, they started fresh. But for the old and enterprise level customers, the challenge still is a big challenge is data, because they don't know where the data is and how they can break the data silos, how they can build the data foundation to innovate in that, but also what they want. Before they invest a lot on data, they say that, hey, we also need to give some low-hanging fruits, right? So we need how we can ensure that whatever we have, I know I have a lot of challenge, but I cannot spend 6 years to fix all the challenge and bring in innovation in AI. I need to do something today. So what I can do today with whatever limitation I have, with minimal changes, minimal investment, and so on. And that's where the store analytics use case I wanted to highlight is a low-hanging fruit. You can do that. You have the setup already. You can do it in the very minimal investment, leveraging technology. But of course, these are the two things, right? So we need to suggest customers that, hey, this is what you do immediate. But of course, you need to have a long-term plan when it comes to building the foundation layer. And they are aware of it. They know that they need to do that. So that's the response that we get mostly, David, in this space.
Yeah, it's a nice, I guess, a nice segue to sort of say how you get started as well. We actually saw Mitre 10, who were on earlier, who I asked a similar question. They did exactly that. They put together a small proof of concept in an app that they gave to folks who were in stores, and it had a short-term quick value for those users, and then that obviously gave the business confidence to go and invest more deeply. So I think that's a nice use case you pulled out today. Look, hopefully for everyone listening, I know that was a lot. We will have a recording, by the way, so we'll send out, I saw that come up in the chat a few times. There will be links for everyone sending out, so you can re-watch this and pick up some of the pieces you may have missed. I'm just looking here, maybe one more question. I don't know. I'll ask you the question, Ravi, but it may be out of topic. And if it is, that's okay. You can say, I don't know. But there was a question from Ravi, and he said he just wanted to know, out of curiosity, Amazon US stores have cash. Is it true that Amazon and US stores don't have cash counters? Customers can just walk in and pick up items and automatically walk as they charge out the door. So rather than having like a conditional point of sale set up that basically it knows who you are, I guess this is the AI, the data angle, and that you can simply walk out the store and you'll build. Is that true? Maybe you can say it's not, you don't know if it's fine as well.
We do have, of course, I'm not sure if it's in all the stores. I'm not in US, and this is not what I see, but what we have is basically Just Walk Out. And if you remember the slide that I was showing, second slide, 25 years of innovation, right? So we have an innovation, Just Walk Out. And if you go to YouTube, please search with Just Walk Out in Amazon, and you will see an Hudson store in an airport where you actually can get in with authorizing with your credit card or your Palm. And we have this Amazon Palm, Amazon Pay as well. And then you can pick any item, you grab it, and you just go. and
Wow.
and you really don't need to talk to anyone. There is no people inside in the store. We call it a Just Workout store. It's there, and we have innovated that. I think probably Ravi is mentioning about this.
Yeah, I think so.
But of course, you know, you cannot implement Just Workout for a grocery store in a city. It has its own you know, use cases. But yes, this innovation is there.
Cool.
It's there.
I thought it was a bit off topic, but you answered it anyway. That's excellent. So look, you can see there's a raft of talent we've from business leadership to technology leadership. Hopefully for those watching, you've grabbed some of these links so that you can contact both folks from the community as well as providers of technology to engage with. That's the goal of today, is to give you some leads to go and broaden your contact list so you can go and learn more and explore what's available to you. We're all here to help. Setu, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. It's been great to have you on. We've got one more session left still, but with that, I'll let you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. So that brings us down to our last session, and I can see that Andre has joined us, which is fantastic. So we're down to our last session. We've covered a lot of ground, but we've still, I guess they always say save the best for last, and I think we have in this case certainly. We're really pleased to welcome Predict HQ on board. Now, Predict HQ to Snowflake are a few things. They're both a partner providing solutions in the data realm, as you'll hear in a moment from Andre, but they're also a customer. They actually use Snowflake internally. So you could think about this next discussion that we're going to have really around both those dimensions, as both a user of Snowflake and also a provider for data and services as well. So with that, I'd love to welcome on Andre Bizovi, who's actually a senior product manager to our Accelerate today. Andre, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
So good to be here. So good to be here. Yeah, I especially like that introduction about the point of view of both an enthusiast, Snowflake, and a customer. So I think throughout the session, I'm going to be showing you both sides of that story with how it relates to demand forecasting and actually how it has evolved in the recent market developments and the whole AI machine learning ecosystem and its advancements, its meteoric advancement.
And for those, I mean, if you're not into demand forecasting, you're about to have your shoes knocked off you and open your eyes, and you're probably going to walk away wanting to know a lot more about demand forecasting. But if you're into prediction analytics, geospatial, this next session's for you. So, Andre, maybe let's get into it. If you can get your slides up, and then we can jump straight into the topic. Perfect, I can see them right now. So with that, I'll get off camera and over to you.
Thank you very much. So, hi, Ron. I'm Andre Bizovi. I'm a senior product manager here at Predict HQ. Predict HQ has helped some of the world's largest brands over a decade in making better event-driven and context-based decisions. And that it applies to both humans and machines. What do I mean by that? Imagine you're a store manager. You read a dashboard that says what events are going to be happening near your store. Maybe you see a big concert, or maybe you see a confluence of smaller expos. Well, that will give you a sort of idea of how those events are going to be impacting your stores. That also applies to machine learning models, in which we provide machine learning ready features in order to boost the accuracy of your forecasting models. Now, recently we've launched a new product called Predict HQ Forecasts that automates forecasts into an easy to use package that is quick to get up and running within 10 minutes actually, and it produces vastly accurate and scalable forecasts. Now, let's set the scene a little bit. Why forecasting matters. Now, I believe, and this is backed by literature, that forecasting has always been and will be for the better part of the next decade, perhaps even future decades, the best way to make operational decisions about the future. Now, let's think about it in plain terms. If I am a retailer, I will know that t-shirts or sports drinks will sell better in summer as opposed to winter. That's, pretty much axiomatic. Everyone knows that. But what is actually the effect of a dozen smaller concert gigs that are happening around your store? Now that effect is much easier to comprehend and to compute and to plan for. So demand forecasting can range from rudimentary to more advanced to even more advanced, which is kind of what we're going to be covering here. But why does it matter in the first place? About 15 to 20 billion in US grocery sales are lost due to stockouts. So that's insufficient inventory or excess inventory just waiting to spoil. We've actually found throughout working with customers and our expertise in forecasting that a 15% accuracy lift in demand forecasting can actually equal up to 3% more in pre-tax profits. And that is surfaced in the way of making better inventory decisions, optimizing pricing, or even launching that long-awaited marketing campaign to coincide with one of those bigger events that are happening near your stores. So forecasting isn't just a process, it's a profit driver that has been proven. With AI and ML and partners like Snowflake, the game is now poised to change. We've found a 20 to 50% reduction in forecasting error by applying AI and machine learning and our own PredictHQ intelligent event features. And top retailers are actually twice as more likely to adopt machine learning forecasting. So while the importance of demand forecasting has stayed the same, it's the how that is now changing. So how do we demand forecast? If you remember at the beginning of the slide, I said that we went from, the archaic, it's summer, t-shirts are going to sell more, to looking at these micro signals that are enriched by context, that are enriched by events happening nearby, that are actually real world aware. And this is where AI and machine learning really helps us narrow down and focus in on those micro signals. And of course, we provide the data that informs those micro signals. Like I said, that confluence of 10 or so expos or smaller concerts, they actually do have an impact. And that's where the detail is, and that's where the efficiencies are gained. So we've evolved from finance-led, look at the weather, look at what my historical sales have been, to machine learning powered pipelines. And we continue to evolve. We continue to evolve into agentic methods. So autonomous agents that then look at your demand signals or your forecast results and give you real world interpretable actions. And this is actually where we're heading. Now let's take a look at some real world examples of how those events, how those signals actually impact demand volatility. So if anyone is familiar with demand forecasting or predictions or time series analysis, you know that there are really three key facets when you start to break down a time series. You've got your overall growth trends, you've got your seasonality, again, easily accounted for. It's summer, it's winter, or it's Friday, my busiest day. But then you have the irregular factors, right? That's the really interesting bit. Because a lot of the detail is actually hidden in that irregular factor, right? And this is where we know actually that the impact of events lies. And there's such a vast potential of additional accuracy that can be unlocked by looking at that volatility, those irregular factors. And, we've analyzed over 1 billion event data points over the decades that we've helped businesses get better at forecasting and context-driven decision-making. We actually have ingested over 5.4 trillion in demand data. And this is users using our products, uploading their past demand data in order to analyze their key demand triggers, right? So what are some of the events that impact my store at location A? It may be an entirely different set of events from those at location B. So we help our users understand the catalysts, the demand drivers behind their shifts in demand, be they up or be they down. So we know that events explain over 55% of positive demand spikes, and we have actually backed this with real data. To give an example, the British Grand Prix contributed just shy of 19,000 in sales dollars over baseline. And that's just one event for one pub in England. Look at the detrimental effect of events. For example, the New York Pride Parade, big festival occupying the entire avenue and entire street. We've actually noticed, and this is again based on real uploaded data, partner data, we've noticed a $140,000 loss in revenue. And that is due to road closures and obstructions. And this was in a supermarket, retail, right? That's absolutely crazy. So if you think about these big events and how big their impact is, think of all the smaller events that are happening that you may not necessarily be aware of. Individually, they may not make that big of an impact, but together, we have observed it to be true that when you take all of these events and put them together, they contribute to a massive impact, be it positive or negative. So we worked with one of the largest retailers in the US in order to improve their forecasting accuracy. And again, this is based on that real world aware, that context aware event data. So they came to us with the following challenges. Forecast accuracy is hitting a ceiling, right? Because you can keep investing time and money into a forecasting model, but eventually it will reach a cap. You can squeeze out minuscule percentage gains, but without inserting something additional, something new into that model, like a new feature set or a new way of breaking down that model and looking at the correlations, you're going to be reaching a ceiling, a accuracy ceiling. So can't get any higher than that. Stock rate volatility, so overstocking, stockouts, inventory spoiling, and just sitting in the warehouses. They wanted to better optimize demand for upcoming periods of high or low demand. And they had an inability to localize promotions with real world signals. And that's that example I gave earlier. There's a big concert or big festival. I want to tie in my promotions with that. So what was the solution there? AI ready features per store. Like I said before, every store amongst thousands for this particular customer will be impacted by different types of events. If you imagine there's more of a rural location, perhaps it's impacted more by country fairs, whereas a more central location would be more impacted by the likes of conventions and expos. So we help this customer identify the demand drivers behind each individual store out of thousands and thousands in order to generate an AI and forecasting ready feature set per store. And that's customized for each store so that they would get the optimum results while reducing noise. We integrated external event impact signals into their forecasts. Again, context aware, it's updated daily, and it's fully automated via code, scalable across thousands of stores, like I said. The results were 8 to 12% in forecast accuracy improvements. And this is a range that is consistent across all thousands of stores, improved inventory availability, and reduced excesses. Actionable store level machine learnings are deployed, and their external aware forecasting strategy is now pivotal to their operations going forward. So I've talked enough about this. Let's see how easy it is to get up and running with forecasts in an actual Snowflake container. And as I switch here, I'm actually hoping my containers haven't gone offline, but here we are. So I have switched over to my Snowflake instance. I'm just checking that I got the screen going. So I'm just going to show you how easy it is to get up and running. Like I said, it's under 10 minutes. How easy it is to get store level, real world aware, event aware forecasts for all of your locations. I just jumped into my Snowflake instance right here. My chosen solution is via notebook. So I have a couple of notebooks set up here. What I've actually done is I've actually copy and pasted some of our guides. It's that easy. So it's not exactly no code, but it is context aware, and it is very, very accurate and fast. So I have my container here. I copy and pasted a code. I've done some basic parameters for the purpose of this demo. All I have to do is click run, and the notebook will run in the background. It'll actually spin up a new forecasting model. It'll train that model using my demand data, and it'll correlate my demand with events that are happening around this location. So as I talk right now, and as the gears are turning, this is actually hitting the PredictHQ data in order to look at what events are happening near that store, and it's correlating them. The forecasting model is correlating them with shifts in demand up and down. So now it's starting to learn kind of what drives my demand. When there's a concert, my demand goes up, or it's also learning your seasonal patterns, right? What your busiest days are, what your busiest months are of the year, if you have provided enough data to cover several years. So it's learning all of that as I have clicked that button. If we scroll down to what is happening right now, it is still being trained. But soon you'll see, in fact, right now, you will see that that training has concluded. It has analyzed my past data, and it has now yielded me a forecast. So I'm really thankful I got to do that live. So by the end of it, what we have now is an actual forecast of the sales, the predicted sales for this given store in the future. So we have our uploaded historical data, and in this darker shade of blue here, we actually have the projected future sales after that initial data upload has concluded. So you saw how easy it was. It was under 10 minutes, me just copy pasting code. I mean, I'm just a product manager. I'm not very technical, right? So if I can do it, anyone can do it. It's really that simple. So this represents here my forecasted future sales for the upcoming week after my my historical demand data. So it's that easy to get up and running. It's scalable. It's enabled by Snowflake. You saw how easy it was to get up and running, and you can deploy fast, accurate, scalable, and inspectable forecasts across all of your locations in less than 10 minutes. So that concludes our demo, but as part of this, I want to make available to you as practitioners, or to send to your data teams, that same sample data set that I used in order to perform these forecasts. Because we know that, when you're evaluating a forecast model, our data scientists go to Kaggle, and I think there's an ancient set from Walmart from something like 2011. So we actually leveraged our data lake in order to make available for you on the Snowflake Marketplace, and as part of this Accelerate webinar, a brand new, never before seen, and up-to-date retail forecasting data set. So this is based on an actual US retailer. The location and figures have been anonymized, of course, but it can and will be used by yourselves or your teams in order to evaluate either PredictHQ forecasts or your own in-house forecasting model. So we just made that available. Links will be shared, I think, as part of the resource pack. If you want, go log in and check it out, download the data set, and plug it into either PredictHQ forecasts or your own forecasting model. So having seen that live right now in the Snowflake platform, the better together advantage is more than evident. Our forecasts are automated, external aware, and scalable. And we have an API up and running that you can deploy across many locations. It's automated, and actually it has been proven to be very accurate. our insights and our models are trained upon 5.4 trillion in global demand signals, and they're now available on demand. So we leverage the same data, the same expertise that we have, that customers have entrusted with us in order to produce a forecasting product unlike any other. And of course, Snowflake enables you to deploy these, as you've seen right now. Like, again, I'm not very technical, in under 10 minutes. You see how easy it was to deploy this via the Snowflake container, via the Snowflake notebook. And of course, it works whether you're generating one forecast per store or 500,000, as has been proven with our other customers across your entire network. PredictHQ and Snowflake scale with your needs and your operation. So just putting it all together, there are some takeaways from this session. So we have made available that sample retail data set. You can get your hands on it. And like I said, you can use it to evaluate either your own forecasting models, update them, do whatever you like with it, or use it to run as part of our PredictHQ forecasts product and see how easy it is to run. We also have that very same notebook. It's available if you think the link will be made available. The same one that I was running, you can copy and paste it. You just need to sign up for an API key and you're up and running. And of course, we have our full documentation for in the case that you want to use the Forecast API. So I've been Andre with PredictHQ. I'd like to thank you very much for joining me on this demo. Don't forget to check out the Snowflake Marketplace listing and spin up your container and start doing forecasts at scale.
That is awesome. I think you've actually set a record. I don't think we've had anyone come on to any of the webinars that I've run for Snowflake over the years and actually come loaded and said, here's data for free. We've put a listing into Marketplace. Here's a bunch of things you can take away. That's simply awesome and really kind of you actually to put that together and make it available for users. If you can just leave your slide up maybe while we're chatting for a second, just so people can get a hold of your details. If you're looking for this, folks, if you go to resources in the bottom, sort of down at the bottom of Zoom somewhere, go to resources. There's two links. There's one for Snowflake Marketplace. You want to go there first and build an account. After that, you can click on it, and actually the second one, there's one that says PredictHQ Marketplace, and that link, it'll challenge you for a login, and then you'll be able to get straight to the actual data itself. If you haven't used Marketplace before with Snowflake, if you haven't shared data that way, it's one of the incredible platform features that we have, the ability to go and share data without the data actually leaving your control, and that's how the magic is being done. So maybe that's a journey of exploration. If you haven't worked with marketplaces before, head off to quickstarts.snowflake.com. There's a bunch of kind of hands-on labs you can do there as well, or just reach out to someone at Snowflake and we'll help you. Just in this, I mean, maybe just kind of to cut over, and please, if there's any last questions, I realise it's been a long day, but we've got maybe one or two moments left. In this, just maybe thinking, I guess as both as a customer, but also someone building a product, why Snowflake? What did it bring to the table for you? I mean, obviously things like Marketplace, but and it's fundamental when you're sitting down making decisions about where you're going to build to, made you land on Snowflake?
I think it's the support around partnering with Snowflake, but also the entire infrastructure. And look, I'm a product guy, so I'm going to cut straight to the chase. I love how easy it is to work with. And you saw, look, I'm the first to say I'm not very technical, but you saw how easy it was for me to get up and running and to start producing forecasts, literally by copy and pasting code. So for me, it's the ease of use. And for the rest of the team, it's really the support that Snowflake gives, but also its community, right? Mm-hmm. So Snowflake has one of the most adherent communities that I've seen. And we like supporting that community. We like to say that, if your entire stack is in Snowflake, we want to make that life easier for you because we know how much you actually like that solution and we don't want you stepping out of that stack. So it's really everything, the support and most importantly, the Snowflake community, which are some of the most ardent fans we've ever seen.
Oh, that's an awesome response. And look, I apologize. I wasn't trying to make it sort of too salesy from a why Snowflake, but it was a genuine question. I mean, a lot of the theme we've heard today from all our customers has been getting to fast results quickly, you know, untangling a bunch of siloed data. And I think there's just like a huge enabler just to get off ground zero. The community you mentioned is absolutely huge. I'm going to talk to that in a moment, but there's, I get to work with lots of the community and user groups around, and when you know you've got a really healthy technology set when you just see so many individuals devoting their career and their time into actually pursuing and elevating the product, and that's a really good healthy sign. And I'd encourage anyone, if you want to get started, if you're not, even if you're an old hand with Snowflake, honestly, do get involved in the communities. The chapters for the formal user groups now run right through Asia Pacific, Japan, Korea. We've got 5 or 6 chapters in India. We have 5 in Australia, New Zealand. There's 3 or 4 up here in ASEAN, and keep growing. So it's a really, really strong set. Okay, so just Ravi's got a question. Thanks, Ravi. You've been so kind with the questions today. I really appreciate it. Awesome presentation. I agree. And a demo. Awesome presentation on retail demand forecasting. I'd like to understand what kind of external signals are being considered for demand forecasting.
That's a great question. So actually, the external signals are our own features. So there are our proprietary PredictHQ's proprietary enriched intelligent event features. So we have a global coverage. We cover the entirety of the US, we cover APAC, and we've got heaps and heaps of customers across APAC, as well as many industries, which also include retail. But the external signals are those very same events that we serve. We turn them into machine learning and forecasting ready features. For example, we will have a feature or an external signal that says, your next week, there's going to be 50,000 people attending concerts near your store. And the machine learning model then takes that signal and looks at the past correlations and extrapolates it into the future in order to give you that prediction, that forecast. So essentially, the external signals that we are looking at that are incorporated and built into this product are our very own intelligent event features.
Perfect. And that was actually a question that I asked when we were doing the warm-up as well about data sources. So go and try it, folks. Go and have a look. When you go into the marketplace, there's a full descriptor about what the data is that PredictHQ have actually provided, and you can start to work up your own models. With that, I've got 1 or 2 slides for close. Andre, I want to thank you so much again for joining us for Accelerate and the really kind offer of providing data. I do hope people take advantage of it in Marketplace. Do sign up to Marketplace, and the links, we'll send them out in an email as well. It describes inside Marketplace how to work with that data set and get a hold of it. But I do appreciate it. Most of all, thank you. I know it's getting later in the day for you, but really loved having you with us on Accelerate today.
Likewise. Thank you very much.
So folks, believe it or not, that brings us to the end of what has been a massive day for Accelerate Retail. We are still have more. We're going to cover other industries and segments coming up over the next few days. But just very quickly before I sign off for today, 1 or 2 last quick little shout outs here. To mention. So a few things that are coming up. We actually have, if you're interested in Snowflake and all things news to Snowflake, we actually have our summit event coming up in a few weeks. You can go and check out snowflake.com. We always post up the keynotes. This event for us really delivers all of our innovations that affect the data and AI industry over the next 12 months. You'll see the keynote with our CEO, Sridhar, and Sam Altman will be there from OpenAI as well. So it's going to be a great event. So please come along and have a look at that if you want to catch up with all the new things that are happening in the industry. I say come along, come and watch it virtually. If you're lucky enough to go to San Francisco, then that's even better. But just point that one out as an area of interest. We talked through a bit today about getting hold of resources. I mentioned live tour. If you are someone who's a practitioner or wants to get a little bit of hands-on time with Snowflake, join us for one of our guided tours. We have lots of different hands-on experiences. They're live. They're conducted by our local APJ team, which is awesome because you get to meet them in real life as well if you just want to come and catch up with us. But they can answer a lot of your questions and give you a great way to kind of eat into or start to work with Snowflake. We also have our university. If you're looking for more structured content, go to the snowflake.com, the resources, and check out the university. There's badges, there's different streams depending on whether you're a data scientist or data engineer or application builder, so you can pick your sort of own journey that you'd like to take and eventually lead you to full certification. I'd also say while you're on snowflake.com, there is a large section on industries. Go and look for the retail industry. There's customer case studies, stories. In the resources tab, if you're really quick, if you go to documents, there's 3 PDFs that are there as well, which you can grab now as well. So if you're after more business level content, ROI of for generative AI, for example, is one of the PDFs that's there. You can download those now, or of course off our website. Most of all, we've really enjoyed having you today. We really appreciate it. We will send links to the actual presentations. If you've got any questions, please reach out to myself or the team. And we've loved having you with us for this very long special session. We went through so much content. We hope you found it valuable. We've loved having you with us for Accelerate, and we'll look forward to seeing you at our next event or our next retail event very, very soon. Until then, have a wonderful day. Thank you.